Chapter 33:20. The square outside the Luosha Divine Palace was 50 miles wide and could hold hundreds of thousands of people. Unfortunately, the population of the Luosha race had never reached that level. Even at their peak, the population was only 40,000 to 50,000 people. At this moment, all the people in the Luosha cave were gathered in the square to watch the Saintess ceremony. In the center of the square, there was a platform that was hundreds of feet high. Several statues of the Luosha ancestors stood there, looking very solemn and sacred. After Lin Shui activated the Luosha bloodline, this was the first time she appeared in front of the public. Compared to when she first entered the Luosha cave, her appearance and figure had indeed changed. The most obvious change was that she was taller, and her figure and appearance were more enchanting. She exuded a breathtaking charm. Before, she was still petite, delicate, and cute. She even exuded a bit of a demonic aura. But now, she was even more dazzling and stunning. She unleashed her demonic and charming powers to the extreme. Under the protection of the high priest and many elders, Lin Shui stepped onto the platform. Tens of thousands of Luosha people finally saw Lin Shui's appearance. They immediately exclaimed in shock and cheered. Many of the Rakshasa men were stunned. They could not help but exclaim loudly. Because Lin Shui now looked 90% like her mother, Sha Yanzi. In the eyes of the Luosha people, it was as if the Saintess Sha Yanzi had returned. But there were some subtle differences between Lin Shui and Sha Yanzi. Compared to Sha Yanzi, she was younger and unleashed her charming aura to the extreme. Without a doubt, she was even more beautiful and dazzling than Sha Yanzi back then. The cheers and discussions lasted for a long time before dissipating. The clan leader, high priest, guardians, and elders were very satisfied with this effect. Everyone's face was filled with a long-lost gratified smile. 15 minutes later, the ceremony officially began. The clan leader and high priest first prayed a long incantation. Then the high priest led the various procedures. In short, the ceremony to confer the title of saintess was very complicated and solemn. Lin Shui didn't want to participate in the ceremony. She didn't want to be the saintess. Now that she had awakened the Luosha bloodline, her strength had increased several times. Her talent and potential had also improved greatly. She felt that she was qualified to reach the immortal king realm. She only wanted to leave Rakshasa cave as soon as possible. However, Ji Tianqing never showed up, nor did he send her any instructions through voice transmission. She called out to Ji Tianqing in her heart many times, but received no response. Now, her form had changed, becoming even more dazzling and perfect. She could ignore the cheers and amazement of the tens of thousands of Rakshasas. What she wanted to see the most was Ji Tianqing's reaction when he saw her in her current state. Would they be amazed and delighted by it? Or do you feel discomfort and disgust? Shui Lin was quite nervous. Under such circumstances, she could only wait patiently. Even if she was unwilling, she had to go along with the Rakshasa clan leader's arrangements. This was because she believed that Ji Tianqing definitely hadn't left and was still in Luosha cave. However, Ji Tianqing had his own plans. She only needed to wait for Ji Tianqing's instructions. In the distorted space, Ji Tianqing was still meditating under the blood flame sacred tree. Only 25 days had passed in the outside world, but he had been cultivating in seclusion for 3.5 years. At this time, his strength had been raised to the limit, 99 times that of a peak godlord. Previously, his body was surrounded by a sacred golden light. But now, his entire body was surrounded by divine light. Not only was there golden light, but there were also purple and white lights. Under the dazzling divine light, he looked even more sacred and solemn, and his aura was also extremely powerful. As early as a year ago, his strength had already reached its limit. In this year, he had been trying to break through the shackles of the immortal king realm. Back then, when Kenshin was trying to break through to the immortal king realm, he tried more than 30 times before succeeding. Kenshin was in seclusion for more than 30 years before successfully breaking through from a peak godlord to the immortal king realm. And now, Ji Tianqing had reached the most critical juncture. He had already tried 7 times, and this was the 8th time. And this time, he was about to succeed. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a short 5 days later. Suddenly, there was a thunderous boom in Ji Tianqing's body, as if some wall or barrier had been forcefully broken open. Without a doubt, Ji Tianqing had finally broken through the shackles and returned to the immortal king realm. At that moment, his body shook. The 3-colored divine light around his body also underwent a drastic change, turning into 5-colored divine light. A majestic wave of divine power erupted from his body. 7-colored divine light also rushed out from his head, forming 9 7-colored divine dragons that rushed into the void. Swoosh! Swoosh! The 9 divine dragons that were tens of thousands of feet long floated above the blood-flame sacred tree, circling around and letting out dragon roars that shook the 9 heavens. In an instant, billions of 7-colored rays of light shone down, illuminating the entire distorted spacetime. Ji Tianqing became the most dazzling ball of light, as dazzling as a star. An incomparably vast divine power spread out from his body, splitting into billions of light pillars that landed in the distorted spacetime. Suddenly, the entire distorted spacetime was filled with specks of divine light that were filled with dense and pure divine power. Yin Yao, Ji Ku, Wu Shuang, the white dragon and the others who were cultivating in seclusion were bathed in the specks of divine light. They were instantly energized and their strength surged. Even the blood-flame sacred tree behind Ji Tianqing greedily absorbed the starlight and specks of divine power. This was the so-called, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to the heavens. Ji Tianqing had successfully broken through to the immortal king realm and accumulated a terrifying amount of divine power, so a portion of it leaked out. This portion of divine power wasn't wasted. It scattered in the distorted spacetime, helping and purifying everyone, allowing them to improve by leaps and bounds. As for the blood-flame sacred tree, in the past, Ji Tianqing used to absorb the power of the sacred tree to try to reach a higher level. Now that he had successfully broken through to the immortal king realm, he used the excess power to nourish the blood-flame sacred tree. As a result, the blood-flame sacred tree also grew rapidly, growing 3 feet taller at a speed visible to the naked eye. On the billions of branches, innumerable purple leaves and sprouts grew out. Some of the branches even bore thumb-sized divine fruits. 3 days later, the 9 divine dragons hovering above the sacred tree turned into billions of colorful specks of light and scattered in the distorted spacetime. The divine dragon's shadow dissipated. Ji Tianqing also ended his cultivation and opened his eyes. Swoosh! When he opened his eyes, 2 beams of condensed light flashed through the night like lightning, causing the distorted spacetime to fluctuate. Phew! Ji Tianqing let out a long breath and looked at his body that hadn't changed much. A gratified smile appeared on his face. After 1,100 years, I have finally returned. Immortal King Realm, long time no see. Chapter 33-21. Ji Tianqing had been waiting for this day for a long time. It had been more than 100 years since he had awakened the memories of his previous life. In the past 100 years, he had always remembered the hatred from back then. There was not a day when he did not think about revenge. Now that he had returned to the godly king realm, he finally had the hope of revenge. He had taken the first step. That was right. Even if he had returned to the godly king realm, he only saw the hope of revenge. He still did not have the right to take revenge. After all, his mortal enemies were the 5 most powerful giants of the godly world. Any one of them was an existence that had surpassed the godly king realm and ruled over a continent. He still had a long way to go. After getting up, Ji Tianqing looked around to check on everyone's cultivation. He saw that the distorted space around the bloody flame sacred tree was still filled with hundreds of millions of light spots. That was the excess divine power that had leaked out when he had broken through to the godly king realm. Yun Yao, Ji Ku, Bai Long, and the others all guessed that Ji Tianqing had broken through again. However, they also knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that they could not miss. Even if they were curious and wanted to end their cultivation to see what level Ji Tianqing had broken through to. However, after weighing the pros and cons, they all held back and focused on cultivating. They tried their best to absorb the divine light around them. As the rainbow-colored light spots entered their bodies one after another, the light spots entered their bodies one after another. The extremely pure and rich divine power caused their strength to increase rapidly. To everyone, this was their opportunity. With this opportunity, they would definitely be able to break through the shackles and advance by at least one level. Seeing that everyone had calmed down and made the correct decision, Ji Tianqing revealed a gratified smile. It should have been 26 days outside. I wonder if Lin Xue's Rakshasa bloodline has been successfully activated. Ji Tianqing thought for a while and quickly left the distorted space. Swoosh! In the darkness, a faint white light flashed. Ji Tianqing appeared beside Chao Qingyu. Although it was only a flash of divine power, Ji Tianqing quickly concealed his aura. But such abnormal fluctuations would still be detected by peak divine lords. However, the Rakshasa clan leader, the great priest, the great guardian and the others were not in the Saint Blood Tower. Therefore, Ji Tianqing's aura was not detected. Chao Qingyu was hiding in a dark corner, observing the situation in the square with rapt attention. He was also startled by Ji Tianqing's sudden appearance. When he saw Ji Tianqing's appearance clearly, he keenly sensed that Ji Tianqing's aura had changed greatly. After being stunned for a moment, he suddenly reacted, and his eyes widened, revealing a look of deep shock. This is the aura of a god king. Young Master Tianqing, you actually broke through to the divine king realm. Chao Qingyu was a god king, so he was no stranger to the unique aura of a god king. When he realized this, he was incomparably shocked and in disbelief. Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and didn't say much. He asked, "What's the situation on the second floor? Has Lin Xue's Rakshasa bloodline been successfully awakened?" Chao Qingyu suppressed his surprise and nodded. Miss Lin's Rakshasa bloodline has been awakened since a few days ago. Until today, when her strength, cultivation base, and bloodline have all stabilized, she left the demonic blood altar to participate in the saintess conferring ceremony. Ji Tianqing quickly released his deific consciousness to check the situation of the demonic blood altar. Seeing that the altar was closed and there was no one around, he was relieved. Awakening the Rakshasa bloodline, she should have broken through to the 9th level of the Divine Lord realm, right? Is the Rakshasa clan so impatient? It's only the 26th day and they're already conferring Lin Xue as saintess. Chao Qingyu quickly explained, "Young master, looking at the Rakshasa clan and the great priest's reactions, I've also eavesdropped on their conversation. It looks like Miss Lin's talent is extremely high after awakening the Rakshasa bloodline, not inferior to her mother, Sha Yanzi. Therefore, the Rakshasa clan values Miss Lin very much and plans to use her as a bargaining chip to form a marriage alliance with territory ruler Yunyang." Just a few days ago, the Rakshasa clan leader had contacted territory ruler Yunyang and invited him to the Rakshasa cave to see Miss Lin with his own eyes. The Rakshasa clan has also decorated the cave with lanterns and banners, waiting for territory ruler Yunyang's arrival. Besides, I heard that territory ruler Yunyang is very arrogant and looks down on the Rakshasa clan. He's unwilling to take Miss Lin as his official wife, only giving her the status of a concubine. Chao Qingyu could vaguely see that there was a vague and ambiguous relationship between Lin Xue and Ji Tianqing. Therefore, he had to tell Ji Tianqing the Rakshasa clan's plan and the predicament Lin Xue was about to face. What? Ji Tianqing was stunned for a moment before he sneered in disdain. The Rakshasa clan's bastards really can't change their ways. They harmed Sha Yanzi back then and now they want to repeat the same mistake and harm Lin Shui. Whether it's Sha Yanzi or Lin Shui, they're both targets to be used, tools to gain benefits. As for territory ruler Yunyang, who does he think he is? Before entering Yunyang territory, Ji Tianqing had already learned that territory ruler Yunyang was an intermediate divine king with exceptional talent. At the very least, he was stronger and more talented than the Tianbei territory ruler. However, it was useless as Yunyang did not care at all. Seeing the anger on Ji Tianqing's face, Chao Qingyu suggested, "Young master, the coronation ceremony is about to end and your plan has been achieved. We don't have to waste time. Let's save Miss Lin and we'll be done, right?" Ji Tianqing smiled mockingly and shook his head. Wouldn't it be too boring to snatch Lin Shui away so crudely? Isn't the Rakshasa clan trying to climb up the social ladder and make a comeback? Come, let's teach them a lesson. Chao Qingyu thought about it and roughly guessed what he meant. His face was filled with anticipation. In the spacious square, the coronation ceremony of the saintess was coming to an end. Under everyone's gaze and the Rakshasa clan's witness, the Rakshasa clan leader personally helped Lin Shui put on the saintess cloak and crown. The scepter that symbolized the saintess' identity and status was also passed to Lin Shui. These three items were top-notch monarch-level divine weapons, treasures that had been passed down for over 30,000 years in the Rakshasa clan. Lin Shui was a little distracted and was not interested in these three treasures. However, Ji Tianqing did not appear and she dared not act rashly. She could only accept them reluctantly. When she wore the saintess cloak, the sacred goddess crown, and the saintess scepter, she was the brightest star in the square. Thousands of Rakshasa clapped and cheered for her. The coronation ceremony was finally over. The Rakshasa clan leader went up the stage again, ready to give the closing speech. But at this moment, in the southern sky, there was a group of sacred five-colored auspicious clouds, as fast as the aurora, rushing over. A domineering man's voice also came from the sky. "I've long heard that the saintess of the Rakshasa race has extraordinary talent and beauty that can cause the downfall of a city. Now that I've seen her today, she really lives up to her reputation." Chapter 33-22. Everything was going smoothly, and the saintess conferring ceremony was about to end. However, the sudden voice caused everyone in the square to be stunned. Not only the thousands of Rakshasas, but even the Rakshasa clan leader, high priest, guardians, and elders looked toward the south of the square. Countless people furrowed their brows, revealing vigilant and wary expressions. After all, the young man's voice was not from the Rakshasa clan. He must be an outsider. However, there were no outsiders in Rakshasa Cave, and they had not invited any outsiders in recently. Could it be an intruder? That was everyone's first reaction. As a result, hundreds of Rakshasa guards immediately drew their weapons and blocked the edge of the square, glaring at the five-colored auspicious cloud. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the five-colored auspicious cloud flew above the square, ignoring the hundreds of guards. The five-colored auspicious cloud stopped above the square, and everyone saw the two experts standing on the auspicious cloud. The person in front was a handsome, white-robed, black-haired human youth. His aura was sacred and majestic, and his bearing was dignified and dignified. He looked extremely mysterious, making people fearful and respectful. The other god tribe expert was tall and burly, and his face was resolute and dignified. He wore a green divine robe. His entire body was filled with powerful divine power fluctuations and thick nomological aura. All the Rakshasas present could not help but feel respectful and fearful when they saw the middle-aged man in the green robe. That was because the divine power fluctuations that the green-robed man emitted had far surpassed the God-Lord realm. It was a level that no one could touch and could only look up to. God-King realm. The Rakshasa clan leader, high priest, and guardians reacted in the next instant, and their expressions changed drastically. The few peak god lords exchanged glances and saw the shock and worry in each other's eyes. As a result, they could not help exclaiming through voice transmissions. What's going on? Why would an outsider intrude into Rakshasa cave? That white-robed youth is very mysterious. The green-robed man is definitely a god-king expert. Since the green-robed man is a god-king, why is he standing at the back like the white-robed youth's guard? Could it be that the white-robed youth has a more honorable status and is more powerful? Most likely. The white-robed youth is definitely a god-king expert. Moreover, a god-king expert is a guard for the white-robed youth. It's obvious how terrifying the identity and status of that white-robed young man is. Two god-king experts came at the same time. And we don't even know him. What's going on? I hope they don't have any enmity towards our clan. Otherwise, Rakshasa cave will be in danger. In an instant, the Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, and the others had a discussion and made a preliminary judgment. Towards the white-robed young man and the green-robed man, everyone was filled with vigilance and respect. As for the tens of thousands of Rakshasa clansmen, although they were ignorant, they did not notice these clues. However, they all felt tremendous pressure. Their hearts were filled with fear and uneasiness. They were filled with worry and vigilance. However, no one noticed. Saintess Lin Shui, who was standing on the high platform, froze when she saw the white-robed young man and the green-robed man. Then, a smile appeared on her face. Her bright eyes flashed with joy and excitement. Of course. No matter how happy and excited she was, she knew how to restrain herself and hide it. In the blink of an eye, she suppressed her excitement and regained her calm expression and gaze. No one could see through her. However, in her heart, she was screaming with joy. This is great. Despicable fellow, you've finally appeared. I knew that you wouldn't leave me behind and would definitely come to save me. But I didn't expect you to swagger through the streets and even ride a five-colored auspicious cloud to save me. Do you want to be my unparalleled hero and make me repay you with my body? Dream on. After a moment of silence, she remembered something more important. Oh right, he said that he's long heard that the Rakshasa saintess has extraordinary talent and beauty. Is he talking about me? Is what he said true? Could it be that he doesn't find my current appearance demonic and ugly but admires and likes me? If that's the case, then I'm relieved. Lin Shui looked down at herself as she thought. She held her cheeks with both hands, looking nervous and uneasy. Even if the Rakshasa clan thought that she was as beautiful as a fairy, she would not take it to heart. She only cared about that fellow's opinion. At the same time, the Rakshasa clan leader and the high priest took the initiative to ask questions in order to ease the tense atmosphere in the square. May I know who the two of you are? Why did you barge into the Rakshasa cave? If I remember correctly, our clan hasn't invited guests from other clans recently, right? Although he was questioning the other party's identity, the Rakshasa clan leader did not forget to bow and remain respectful and courteous. After all, the Rakshasa clan could not afford to offend a godly king powerhouse. Especially when the other party was two godly kings. On the five-colored auspicious cloud, the white-robed youth was in high spirits. He stood proudly and had no intention of explaining. On the other hand, the green-robed man behind him answered for his master dutifully. He said with an indifferent expression, the Rakshasa clan indeed did not invite my master. We came uninvited. After all, the Rakshasa clan lives in a remote area. It's normal that they don't know my master. Seeing that, the Rakshasa clan leader and the high priest's hearts skipped a beat. Everyone looked at each other and nodded slightly, confirming the guess in their hearts. That was right. That green-robed man was the white-robed youth's guard and servant. Everyone was secretly shocked. What kind of honorable person would he be if a godly king was willing to be his guard? He should be at least the territorial lord of a region, right? Thinking of that, the Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, the great guardian, and the elders became even more respectful. Please forgive our ignorance. May I ask where the two seniors are from? Do you have any relationship with our Rakshasa clan's ancestors? Why did you enter Rakshasa cave this time? The high priest bowed and asked in a respectful and clear manner. In order not to anger the two godly kings, he only said that he was entering Rakshasa cave and did not dare to mention the word trespass. The tens of thousands of Rakshasa clansmen were already frightened by the two godly kings' power and were uneasy. Now, seeing the clan leader and the high priest in such a humble manner, they understood. Everyone understood the situation. The two guests from other clans must be honorable godly kings, big shots that the Rakshasa clan could not afford to offend. As expected. The white-robed youth still did not answer. The green-robed man said proudly, "We're from the Sharp Tiger region in the south. My master is the master of Sharp Tiger region. Although Sharp Tiger region is very far from here and you must have never heard of it. However, our territorial lord does have some relationship with your ancestors. More than 15,000 years ago, there was a Rakshasa woman called Sha Yuhuan. When she was traveling the boundless heaven mainland, she passed by Sharp Tiger region. At that time, Sha Yuhuan was chased by a godly king and was severely injured. She almost died. It was our domain lord who was kind enough to save Sha Yuhuan and treat her injuries." Chapter 33-23. The expressions of the Rakshasa tribe leader and high priest changed when they heard what the green-robed man said. Everyone could not help but exclaim in their excitement. "The Tiger region lord? He is indeed a region lord. No wonder. What? Sha Yuhuan? Oh my God. That's the 17th generation saintess of our tribe, my grandmother. Sha Yuhuan went to the Tiger region and was even saved by the region lord. No wonder the region lord knows about our tribe. He has such a history with us." The Rakshasa tribe leader and high priest were all excited. They showed gratified, friendly, and fawning smiles. After all, the two godly kings had a history with the Rakshasa tribe, which meant that they were friends and not enemies. The Sha Yuhuan that the green-robed man mentioned was indeed the 17th generation saintess of the Rakshasa tribe. Sha Yanzi was the 19th generation saintess, and Lin Shui was the 20th generation saintess. Sha Yuhuan had broken through to the godly king realm more than 16,000 years ago. The Rakshasa tribe was very powerful back then. They were the second most powerful force after the region lord. However, because of that, the region lord was wary of the Rakshasa tribe and secretly suppressed and weakened them. Sha Yuhuan was only a lower-rank godly king. Her strength was far from the region lord's then. Just staying in the Rakshasa cave and cultivating the skills left behind by the ancestors was not enough to increase her strength quickly, let alone surpass the region lord. Therefore, Sha Yuhuan decided to leave the Rakshasa cave and travel the boundless heaven continent to find opportunities and methods to increase her strength. However, it was a pity. Sha Yuhuan was still in contact with the Rakshasa cave for 400 years after she left. After 400 years, they completely lost contact. There was no news of her until now. The Rakshasa tribe tried to find her but to no avail. Too much time had passed, and the Rakshasa tribe thought that Sha Yuhuan had died. Sha Yuhuan's disappearance was a huge nightmare to the Rakshasa tribe. It was also a heavy loss. Since then, the Rakshasa tribe's power declined and gradually weakened. Now, Sha Yuhuan's name was mentioned again, and it brought back many Rakshasa powerhouses' memories. Only then did they know that Sha Yuhuan had been to the Tiger region and had interacted with the region lord. After a series of exclamations and discussions, the high priest looked at the two god kings excitedly and asked urgently, "Respected god kings, may I ask a question? After domain lord saved Sha Yuhuan, where did she go? After that, was there still any contact between Sha Yuhuan and the domain lord? Is she still alive? And where are you?" Seeing the high priest asking a series of questions with an indifferent expression on the white-robed youth's face, the green-robed man frowned and said with some displeasure, "Are you asking a question?" The high priest was rather embarrassed. He quickly explained with a smile, "Senior, please don't be angry. I was just worried. After all, Luo Zhen is Sha Yuhuan's grandson. For the past 10,000 years, there has been no news of grandmother. We are all extremely sad." Only then did the green-robed man's expression soften significantly. With a dignified expression, he said, "After my lord saved Sha Yuhuan, he healed her injuries and allowed her to leave. As for where she went and why she disappeared, we don't know. After all, our domain lord only met her by chance. It's not appropriate for us to interfere with her private matters." This. The high priest's face instantly turned gloomy. His hopes were dashed. However, when Sha Yuhuan disappeared, he was not even born yet. He did not have any deep feelings for Sha Yuhuan, much less any grief. In the blink of an eye, he returned to normal and greeted the green-robed man with a smile. With his relationship with Sha Yuhuan, he had an advantage over the others. It was easier for him to get closer to them. Just as everyone was exchanging pleasantries. Saintess Lin Shui, who was ignored by everyone, had a strange expression. She was holding back her laughter painfully. "Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Tiger Che. Nonsense. Domain Lord Tiger Che. Even if you're making up lies, can you be more serious? Aren't you afraid of being exposed by the Rakshasa race for randomly making up a domain name?" However, looking at the Rakshasa race's reaction, they definitely believed it without a doubt. They were lowly in their bones and only wanted to flatter and curry favor with the strong. No matter how ridiculous you make it up, they won't doubt it. After all, both of you are divine kings. They can't afford to offend you, so they can only suck up to you. Lin Shui cursed inwardly, finding it ridiculous. Witnessing the Rakshasa race's humility and flattery with her own eyes, she was filled with contempt and disdain. However, she calmed down quickly and noticed the abnormality. No. Isn't he a peak divine lord? When did he break through to the divine king realm? Also, how do they know the name Sha Yuhuan? Even if it's a lie, how can they make it up so well? At this moment, after the high priest and the green-robed man finished exchanging pleasantries, they had gotten closer. The green-robed man also explained the purpose of his visit to everyone. It turned out that he was accompanying Domain Lord Tiger Che to travel the continent and accidentally passed by Cloud Yang region. It was only then that he remembered the Rakshasa race's existence. After many inquiries and searches, they found Rakshasa cave and broke in easily by breaking the divine formation. They did not expect to be so lucky to meet the Rakshasa race's new saintess. They had long heard of the Rakshasa race's saintess reputation. It was a good opportunity to meet her. Knowing this, the Rakshasa leader, the high priest, and the rest were completely relieved. Not only were they not worried, but they were also secretly delighted and excited. Especially the Rakshasa leader, he was so excited that he thought to himself, "God is really helping me. Not only can our race form a marriage alliance with Domain Lord Yun Yang, but we can also become acquainted with Domain Lord Tiger Che. Domain Lord Tiger Che is very interested in our race. I only need to do some work and we can become friends. By then, our race will have the help of 2 domain lords. Why should we worry about not being able to rise again?" At this moment, the high priest suddenly realized that the honorable domain lord Tiger Che had been silent, but he was sizing up Saintess Lin Shui with admiration. Domain Lord Tiger Che was not only handsome, but also dignified. Even when he was sizing up Lin Shui, he did not look annoying at all. His expression and gaze were focused, revealing admiration and praise. It was definitely not a greedy or wretched gaze, but an affirmation and admiration for beautiful things. The high priest immediately realized that his chance to show off had come. Therefore, he plucked up his courage and asked, Lord Tiger Che, this is Saintess Lin Shui, whom our race has conferred today. She's the most outstanding young woman in our race. I wonder what Lord Tiger Che thinks of our Saintess. Or perhaps, can you give some pointers and enlighten our Saintess? The white-robed young man smiled, not hiding his admiration at all. He said solemnly, Saintess Lin Shui's appearance and bearing are rare in this world. Although she's only a 9th-level divine sovereign now, her talent is outstanding and her potential is great. She'll definitely break through to the divine king realm soon. I've wandered the world for many years, but I've never found a Tao companion that I like. Now that I've seen Saintess Lin Shui, I'm actually moved. I've decided to take her as my wife and guide and teach her with all my heart. I won't let her talent and potential down. Once he said this, the entire square fell silent. Everyone was stunned, revealing an expression of disbelief. No one had expected Domain Lord Tiger Che to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. And after the High Priest, Chief Protector, and the rest were stunned for a moment, they immediately revealed a look of thick surprise, and also cried out in surprise in their hearts. Ha ha ha. The surprise came too suddenly. We only saw that Domain Lord Tiger Che admires Lin Shui very much. I didn't expect that he would actually be so straightforward, proposing a marriage alliance face to face. Domain Lord Tiger Che marrying Lin Shui as his official wife, this is simply a heaven-sent opportunity. Chapter 33-24. For the High Priest, the Great Guardian, and the many elders, it was the most practical thing to do to curry favor with the two divine kings in front of them and Precinct Lord Tiger who was close at hand. They were pleasantly surprised by Precinct Lord Tiger's straightforward declaration and were very much in agreement and eagerness. After all, Precinct Lord Tiger's status and ability were no weaker than Precinct Lord Yunyang. Although Precinct Lord Tiger was far away from here and was not as effective as sucking up to Precinct Lord Yunyang, Yunyang was too arrogant. He did not care about the Rakshasa tribe at all and was only willing to take Lin Shui as his concubine. In contrast, Precinct Lord Tiger wanted to take Lin Shui as his wife. This was definitely more attractive and competitive. Not only were the High Priest, Guardian, and others pleasantly surprised, even the tens of thousands of Rakshasa tribesmen were stunned and shocked. When they came back to their senses, they exclaimed and applauded. Only the Rakshasa tribe leader wore a complicated expression, hesitation in her eyes. The one who had the biggest reaction and was the most excited was none other than Lin Shui. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at Ji Tianqing with sparkling eyes, her heart beating several times faster. It was to the extent that the blood in her body was flowing faster and faster. She was so excited that she couldn't express it with words. At this moment, she even thought that she had heard wrongly and was hallucinating. She could not believe that those words came from Ji Tianqing's mouth. Oh my God! Is this still him? Is this really what he's saying? He's always on guard against me and looks like he doesn't want to get close to me. He even despises me a little. But now, he's saying something so mushy. And in front of tens of thousands of people. It's unbelievable. Could it be that these were his true thoughts? He already has me in his heart, but he's just unwilling to admit it. Now, he's using this opportunity to express it boldly. It's so touching. Lin Shui was excited and touched. The corners of her eyes were covered with mist that was about to condense into tears. She had never been so happy in her life. However, just as she was filled with excitement and shyness, Ji Tianqing's deific consciousness voice transmission suddenly rang in her head. Hey, can't you show a little bit of shock and excitement? I'm Precinct Lord Tiger now. I'm proposing marriage to you in front of your entire tribe. How can you suppress the excitement and joy in your heart? Lin Shui's body stiffened as she glared at him and said telepathically, You're never serious. Don't be so narcissistic, okay? Although she said that, she still cooperated with Ji Tianqing and showed an appropriate expression of surprise and disbelief. While she was smiling, she was still a little worried. She sent a telepathic message to Ji Tianqing and asked carefully, "Hey, what you said just now, was it true? You will fulfill your promise, right?" Although she was very shy, she knew very well that if she missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be another one. If she didn't grasp this rare opportunity, she would regret it for the rest of her life. Ji Tianqing, on the other hand, was full of astonishment. He replied with a surprised tone, "Hey. I'm obviously acting. I'm just trying to save you, right?" Lin Xue's joyful smile froze. Her body, which was trembling with excitement, stiffened on the spot. Her excitement quickly cooled down, and she regained her composure. A strong sense of disappointment and bitterness pervaded her heart, making her feel as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out. The mist in her eyes condensed into 2 bean-sized teardrops and quietly slid down her face. "Ha ha ha. I knew it. You haven't changed. I'm the one who thinks too much." Lin Xue murmured in her heart, feeling indescribably uncomfortable. At this moment, the high priest, the great guardian, and the others were shocked by Xue Lin's reaction. Someone exclaimed, "Look, the saintess is crying. What's going on? Is the saintess so excited that she can't help crying? That must be it. After all, Precinct Lord Tiger is so straightforward." Happiness came too suddenly. The vast majority of people supported this marriage, so naturally, they were thinking in a positive direction. However, the Rakshasa clan leader frowned. After a moment of hesitation, he shouted with a dignified expression, "Silence." Instantly, countless people in the square quietened down and looked at the Rakshasa clan leader. The Rakshasa clan leader bowed to Ji Tianqing and said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone, "Precinct Lord Tiger, thank you very much for your affirmation and love of our saintess. This is our clan's honor. However, marriage is naturally a matter of mutual consent. Don't you think so?" Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and said calmly, "Of course. You can't force a melon to be sweet. I understand this principle." Hearing this, the high priest, great guardian, and the others all frowned. They had a bad feeling. That was because they had already guessed the Rakshasa clan leader's thoughts from his tone. As expected, the Rakshasa clan leader looked at Lin Xue with a dignified expression and asked in front of everyone, "Lin Xue, the Honorable Precinct Lord Tiger has come from afar to watch our saintess's ceremony. The Precinct Lord admires you very much and is willing to marry you, guide your cultivation, and help you break through to the Divine King realm. Based on the principle of fairness and willingness, I'm asking you in front of everyone now. What do you think? Don't worry, as long as you agree, I won't stop you." Although he said so on the surface, he spoke to Lin Xue through telepathy in a serious tone, "Lin Xue, you must consider this carefully. You mustn't be hasty. You're our saintess now. When you make a decision, you must consider the big picture. You must know that your marriage with Precinct Lord Yunyang is 70 to 80% certain. As for this Precinct Lord Tiger, we still don't know his identity and background. Besides, we don't know where Tiger Precinct is or how far it is from Rakshasa Cave." The Rakshasa clan leader was not hinting but reminding and warning Lin Xue. His intention was obvious. He wanted Lin Xue to reject. However, what the Rakshasa clan leader did not expect was that Lin Xue had completely ignored his telepathic persuasion. In front of everyone, Lin Xue raised her sleeve to wipe away the tears at the corner of her eyes and looked at Ji Tianqing with a smile. She said sincerely, "I'm grateful for Precinct Lord Tiger's kindness. I'm willing. Although Precinct Lord has a noble status, powerful ability, and extraordinary talent, I'm just a mediocre person. As for me, I'm just a person with mediocre aptitude. I can't even enter the Domain Lord's discerning eyes. Most of the time, I can only be despised and alienated. However, no matter what others think, no matter how Precinct Lord sees me, I want to express my truest feelings. That's right. You are the most handsome man in my heart, the most enchanting man. You have long since monopolized my heart. Other than you, I can ignore any other young talent in this world. Chapter 33-25. Lin Xue's expression, eyes, and tone all revealed sincerity and truth. Her tone was extremely infectious, causing countless people to feel deeply moved. However, many people felt puzzled and began to discuss in low voices. What is the Holy Maiden saying? Why does it feel weird? Although the Holy Maiden agreed to Territorial Lord Tiger Che's marriage proposal, this is a good thing for our clan. But I keep feeling that the Holy Maiden's words have a hidden meaning. It sounds very complicated, but isn't this the first time the Holy Maiden and Territorial Lord Tiger Che met? The Holy Maiden is attracted and fascinated by Territorial Lord Tiger Che the first time she met him. Is this the legendary love at first sight? Not only did the Rakshasa clan find it strange, but the Rakshasa clan leader also noticed the abnormality, sizing up Lin Xue and Ji Tianqing with a strange look. Seeing this scene, Ji Tianqing knew that the Rakshasa clan leader had already become suspicious and could not help but sigh secretly. Sigh. I really shot myself in the foot. If I had known Lin Xue, that silly girl's personality, why would I have rejected her directly? Now, she foolishly confessed to me in public, making everyone hear the problem and become suspicious. Ji Tianqing knew that in this situation, it was no longer appropriate to stay for long. If he delayed any longer, Lin Xue would probably reveal more flaws. Therefore, he revealed a satisfied smile and nodded, saying, "Very good. Since the Holy Maiden and I are in love, what are we waiting for? Come to me, let me take a good look at you." Saying that, he extended his right palm to Lin Xue, calling her forward. Lin Xue did not hesitate and left the high platform without any shame, flying toward Ji Tianqing. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, Lin Xue flew onto the five-colored auspicious cloud and landed beside Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing pretended to size her up a few times and revealed an even more satisfied smile, saying, "Rakshasa clan leader, I am very satisfied with the Holy Maiden, this marriage is settled. Now, I will take the Holy Maiden out of Rakshasa cave and go out to play for a few days. We can get to know each other and also improve our relationship. In 3 days at most, I will prepare the betrothal gifts and come to Rakshasa cave to propose marriage." After saying that, the rainbow auspicious cloud turned around and left the square, flying towards the exit of Rakshasa cave. Seeing that Ji Tianqing was about to take Xue Lin away, the Rakshasa tribe leader and the high priest finally regained their senses. The Rakshasa clan leader's expression changed immediately. He raised his hand and shouted, "Hold on." As he shouted, he personally led the high priest, the great protector, and several elders to stop the five-colored auspicious clouds. "Region Lord Hu Che, even if you want to marry the Holy Maiden, you can't take her away now. Aren't you being too impatient? This is also against the rules. It doesn't matter to my clan, but you are the honorable Region Lord. How can you be so careless with your marriage? Why don't you stay in Rakshasa cave for a few days and let us treat you well? It can also improve the relationship between you and the Holy Maiden." Without waiting for Ji Tianqing to reply, Chao Qingyu's face turned cold as he shouted coldly, "How dare you? Since the Rakshasa clan doesn't care, why are you stopping them? Our Region Lord is so honorable. It's the Rakshasa clan's honor that he likes the Holy Maiden of the Rakshasa clan and is willing to marry her. Rakshasa tribe leader, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." The threat in these few sentences was already very heavy. Moreover, Chao Qingyu even released the powerful suppression of a godly king powerhouse, enveloping the entire square. Instantly, tens of thousands of Rakshasa clansmen were suppressed until their backs bent, and they were filled with fear and trepidation. Even the Rakshasa tribe leader, the high priest, and the great protector, and the other peak godly lords were trembling slightly. They were terrified and uneasy. Even so, the Rakshasa tribe leader still straightened his neck and said very stubbornly, Region Lord Wuxia, the Rakshasa clan respects you as the region lord and is very polite and respectful to you. However, there are rules to everything. I hope you can understand. If I let you take the holy maiden away so carelessly today, it will bring shame to the Rakshasa clan and our ancestors. Your Excellency, please let the holy maiden stay. We will discuss this carefully. Otherwise, for the glory and dignity of our clan, we will not let you leave just like that even if we have to risk our lives. After saying that, her entire body surged with divine power, and she gripped the scepter tightly with both hands. After being stunned for a moment, the high priest, the great protector, the many elders, and the deacons also drew their swords and kenshin weapons. Even the hundreds of guards drew their weapons and surrounded the five-colored auspicious cloud. Although the Rakshasa tribe leader had acted very humbly earlier, she was very calm and decisive. But on this important matter, she was very calm and decisive. Her attitude was also very firm. In an instant, the atmosphere in the square became very tense. Ji Tianqing immediately frowned and sneered with anger. Ha ha ha. How dare you be so arrogant, little Rakshasa clan? Have I been too kind to you? Since you are so reckless, I will have to teach you a lesson so that you will know the difference between superior and inferior. Lin Shui also looked very worried. She quickly reached out to grab Ji Tianqing's sleeve and persuaded, Your Excellency, please calm down. She looked at the Rakshasa clan leader and persuaded, Clan leader, you said you would support my decision and would not stop me. Why are you going back on your words now? I fell in love with precinct leader Wuxia at first sight. He is just taking me to play for a few days. Why do you have to make such a big fuss? Don't you think about the consequences of being impulsive for the sake of the tens of thousands of people? As expected, the high priest, the great protector, and the elders all hesitated. Only the Rakshasa clan leader's expression did not change. His attitude was still firm, and he had no intention of backing down. Seeing this, Chao Qingyu took 2 steps forward and said, My lord, since these guys are so stubborn, I will teach them a lesson for you. I can deal with these ants alone. Why do you have to do it yourself? After saying that, Chao Qingyu raised his palms and waved his wide sleeves, shooting out a golden divine light that covered the sky. Swoosh! Swoosh, swoosh! Suddenly, the golden light turned into thousands of giant blades and slashed at the Rakshasa clan leader and the others. Those light blades were only targeting the divine emperors on the square and not the tens of thousands of Rakshasa people. But the golden light blades covered the entire square. If the Rakshasa people did not run away, they would be crushed. The square was instantly in chaos. Countless Rakshasa people ran in all directions and screamed in panic. Everyone, let's go and stop them. The Rakshasa clan leader shouted angrily. He waved his scepter and went against the golden light blades. The high priest, the great protector, and the others immediately followed and resisted with all their might. In the next moment, a deafening sound exploded in the sky. Boom! Boom, boom! Boom, boom, boom! The thunderous sound shook the sky and the square. The surging 5-color divine light instantly engulfed an area of 100 miles, drowning the entire square. Under the divine light, countless Rakshasa guards, deacons, and elders vomited blood and fell to the ground, screaming. Even the Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, and the great guardian, who were the most powerful among them, were beaten to a pulp as they crashed onto the ruined square. In addition, hundreds of Rakshasa people who could not escape in time were killed by the divine light. Chapter 33-26. Chao Qingyu only made one move and the entire Rakshasa cave was in chaos. The divine light and dust that blotted out the sky lasted for a long time before dissipating. Many of the Rakshasa guards and deacons were either lightly or heavily injured. Their bodies were covered in blood. Even a few elders and protectors were injured by Chao Qingyu. Only the Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, and the great guardian were the strongest. They were only slightly injured and did not suffer any serious injuries. However, the scene of hundreds of Rakshasa clansmen being affected and dying on the spot shocked everyone. The tens of thousands of Rakshasa clansmen were scared out of their wits and fled into the distance in a panic. It was a mess. When they saw that, the Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, and the others were filled with shock and fear. They knew long ago that once a godly king expert attacked, the world would be destroyed. However, they only knew how terrifying a godly king expert was after experiencing it personally. They could sense that Chao Qingyu did not use his full strength and merely made a casual move. In the end, no one in the entire Rakshasa race could stop him and all the experts were injured. There was no doubt. Once Chao Qingyu was angered and attacked with his full strength, the casualties of the Rakshasa race would be 10 times worse. Furthermore, there was the even more terrifying mysterious domain Lord Tiger who was watching coldly from the sidelines. If he attacked as well, Rakshasa Cave would be destroyed without a doubt. Everyone present today, every single one of them, would die here. At that thought, the Rakshasa clan leader felt a chill run down her spine and calmed down. The high priest, the grand guardian, and the others hurriedly persuaded her to stop being stubborn. In the skies hundreds of kilometers away. Above the rainbow auspicious cloud, Chao Qingyu looked down at everyone and hollered coldly, "I only used 30% of my strength. Take it as a small lesson for all of you. If you offend my lord again, I'll let you know that when a godly king is angry, blood will flow like a river." After saying that, the rainbow auspicious cloud turned around and flew towards the exit of Rakshasa Cave. The Rakshasa clan leader looked at the backs of Ji Tianqing and the other two as they left. Her eyes were filled with hatred and she felt extremely humiliated. However, the lesson just now made her smarter. No matter how angry and aggrieved she was, she didn't dare to do it again. The high priest hurriedly asked, "Patriarch, what should we do now?" Before the clan leader could reply, the great guardian said helplessly, "What else can we do? They've already warned us. If we still try to stop them, wouldn't we be courting death?" Several elders also nodded in agreement. Their tone was very helpless as they discussed. The difference between us and the God Kings is too great. If we continue to fight, we'll just be asking for humiliation. Sigh. Originally, we could have gotten married peacefully and happily, but I didn't expect. Now that things have turned out this way, I really don't know how to end this. Do you think Domain Lord Hu Che will keep his promise and come back in 3 days? It should have been in the past, but not now. Just as the crowd was discussing, the Rakshasa clan leader shouted sternly, "We can't let it go just like that. It's not too late to salvage the situation." After saying that, she flew up into the sky as fast as lightning and chased after the 5-colored auspicious cloud. The high priest, great guardian, and the rest were afraid that she would be impulsive again and hurriedly followed. A moment later, everyone caught up to the 5-colored auspicious cloud at the exit of Rakshasa Cave. The Rakshasa clan leader shouted loudly, "Wait! Domain Lord Hu Che, please wait." The 5-colored auspicious cloud indeed stopped. Ji Tianqing, Chao Qingyu, and Lin Shui all turned to look at the Rakshasa clan leader. Chao Qingyu raised his eyebrows and said in a deep voice, "What? Wasn't the lesson just now enough?" The Rakshasa clan leader hurriedly waved her hand and explained, "Senior, you've misunderstood. Just now, I was muddle-headed and contradicted the Domain Lord. At this moment, I just want to apologize to the Domain Lord. I hope that the Domain Lord can be magnanimous and forgive my recklessness and impulsiveness. Also, our clan is extremely sincere and is willing to marry the Domain Lord. Domain Lord and Saintess, please enjoy yourselves. I'll prepare the corresponding matters within 3 days. When the time comes, please come back on time so that we can discuss the specific process of the marriage." Clearly, the Rakshasa clan leader was also afraid that Ji Tianqing would run away with Lin Shui and never come back. But she could not stop them, so she could only beat around the bush and hint Ji Tianqing to keep his promise. To this, Ji Tianqing, Chao Qingyu, and Lin Shui were all secretly laughing. But the three of them did not move. Chao Qingyu also said with a cold face, "Rakshasa clan leader, please concentrate on the preparations. My lord will never break his promise." After receiving Chao Qingyu's reply, the Rakshasa clan leader was slightly relieved. She squeezed out a smile and led the high priest, the great guardian, and the others to respectfully send Ji Tianqing and the others off. Swoosh! The five-colored auspicious cloud flew to the sky above 1,000 feet tall altar and stopped. This altar was the entrance to Rakshasa cave. Chao Qingyu was about to cast a spell to activate the altar's array. But at this moment, the altar shook violently and flashed with five-colored divine light. Rumble, with a series of muffled sounds, a light screen quickly appeared above the altar, forming a dilapidated light door. Then, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, balls of divine light emerged from the door of light one after another. Swoosh! 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 In just 10 breaths, more than 300 balls of divine light passed through the light door and entered Rakshasa cave. When those divine lights dissipated, everyone saw more than 350 god clan experts in a formation in the sky. These more than 300 god clan experts were basically all god lords. The weakest ones were also second or third stage realm lower divine lords. There were more than 70 middle-level god lords and more than 20 upper-level god lords. As for peak god lords, there were 6. Moreover, their appearances were completely different from the Rakshasa clan. They were all more than 10 feet tall and skinny. They wore silver armor and had a head full of silver hair. Even the wings on their backs were pure silver and shone with a metallic luster. Seeing this group of uninvited guests who suddenly barged into Rakshasa cave, Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu frowned. However, the Rakshasa clan leader and high priest's expressions changed drastically as they cried out in shock. "It's the Scarlet Moon clan! Damn it! Those bastards from the Scarlet Moon clan actually barged into Rakshasa cave. That's the clan leader of the Scarlet Moon clan, Scarlet Shadow Tianyu. And the Scarlet Moon clan's young lord, Scarlet Shadow. Damn it! The Scarlet Moon clan leader and young lord are both here and they even brought all the experts. Those bastards from the Scarlet Moon clan, what are they trying to do?" Following the cries of shock, the Rakshasa clan people tensed up as though they were facing a great enemy. And at this moment, among the Scarlet Moon clan crowd, there was a burst of vicissitude and majestic laughter. "Ha ha ha! The Rakshasa clan and my clan are in-laws. Why didn't you inform me about such a grand and solemn event like conferring a saintess? Rakshasa clan leader, are you looking down on me or the Scarlet Moon clan?" Chapter 33-27. Today's coronation ceremony was really full of twists and turns. Region Lord Tiger Che had not left yet, and a large number of powerhouses from the Crimson Moon clan had arrived. The person who spoke was the clan leader of the Crimson Moon clan, Crimson Shadow Heavenly Geo. He wore a dark silver battle robe with a fiery red cape on his shoulders. His silver hair fluttered in the wind. His thin and tall body was like a javelin that pierced the heavens, emitting a sharp aura. His resolute face was full of vicissitudes of life, and there was also a hideous scar. He stood at the front of the Crimson Moon clan's team, looking at the Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, and the rest with a cold smile. Behind Crimson Shadow Heavenly Geo was a young man who looked a little similar to him and had an arrogant expression. This person wore a silver robe and a sapphire blue cape. His silver hair was tied into a ponytail, looking very carefree and unruly. He was the young master of the Crimson Moon clan, Lifeless Crimson Shadow. At this time, his gaze swept across the Rakshasa clan leader and the rest, then fell on the five-colored auspicious cloud, sizing up Ji Tianqing, Lin Shui, and the other two. The three groups of people stopped in the sky. The five-colored auspicious cloud was sandwiched in the middle, unable to advance or retreat. The atmosphere was a little strange. However, Ji Tianqing, Chao Qingyu, and Lin Shui looked very calm. Even if there were as many as 300 powerhouses from the Crimson Moon clan, they were not worried at all. Anyway, the Crimson Moon clan was not targeting them. The Rakshasa clan leader quickly calmed down and glared at Crimson Shadow Heavenly Geo and the rest. He asked in a deep voice, "Crimson Shadow Heavenly Geo, what is the meaning of this? What are you trying to do?" Seeing the Rakshasa clan's vigilant look, Crimson Shadow Heavenly Geo chuckled and said, "Sister, don't be so nervous. I have no ill intentions. I just heard that the Rakshasa clan is going to confer a new saintess, so I rushed over to watch the ceremony." "What? Our two clans have been friends for generations. Can't I even watch the ceremony?" The Rakshasa clan leader did not speak. His expression was gloomy as he glared at the high priest and the great guardian. He asked in a deep voice, "Who leaked the news of the saintess? How did the Crimson Moon clan? You must investigate this matter thoroughly. No matter who leaked the news, they must be severely punished." The high priest, the great guardian, and the others nodded repeatedly, revealing a look of hatred for a common enemy. Chief Protector angrily glared at Crimson Shadow Sky 9 and shouted angrily, "Crimson Shadow Sky 9, you old bastard, stop pretending. Conferring the title of saintess is our Rakshasa race's matter. What does it have to do with your Red Moon race? We didn't invite anyone to observe the ceremony, but you barged into the Rakshasa cave and even brought all the experts of the Scarlet Moon clan. Do you think we're all blind and can't see your ambition?" The high priest and several elders also began to berate him. "Who is a family friend of the Scarlet Moon clan? Don't you have any shame? Back then, all of you went on a killing spree in Rakshasa cave, slaughtering over 10,000 of my clan's people. Your actions were like that of demons, so vicious that it made one's hair stand on end. You bastards from the Scarlet Moon clan, Rakshasa cave does not welcome you. Get out of here." Hearing the scolding of the high priest and others, Lifeless Crimson Shadow and the experts of the Scarlet Moon clan were enraged and their eyes were sharp. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 was not angry at all. He maintained his smile and said, "What happened back then is in the past, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. However, it was indeed the Rakshasa race's fault. You humiliated my clan and betrayed my trust. Now that a new saintess has appeared in the Rakshasa race, this is a good opportunity for you to make amends for my clan and atone for your sins." Hearing this, the Rakshasa clan leader and others' expressions changed. They had a bad feeling about this. "Crimson Shadow Sky 9, what do you mean? Bastard, what are you trying to do?" Crimson Shadow Sky 9 smiled but did not answer. His face was filled with a playful sneer. Lifeless Crimson Shadow stared at Shui Lin, who was on the five-colored auspicious cloud. After taking a closer look, he nodded in satisfaction. He. If I'm not wrong, this young lady is the new saintess of the Rakshasa race, right? She is indeed Sha Yanzi's daughter. Not only is she 80% similar to her, but she is even better than her. Back then, Sha Yanzi betrayed me and humiliated me. As the saying goes, a father's debt must be paid by the son, and a mother's debt must be paid by the daughter. Sha Yanzi's debt to me will be paid by his daughter." He stared at Shui Lin with an evil look and crooked his finger at her. He said with a smile, "Although your mother is dead, you have to replace your mother and marry me. Only then can the grudge between the Rakshasa race and the Rakshasa race be written off." Hearing this, the Rakshasa clan leader and many powerhouses were enraged. Many of the Rakshasa race were also filled with righteous indignation. "Lifeless Crimson Shadow, you despicable bastard. Bastard from the Crimson Moon race, you are so shameless. Lifeless Crimson Shadow, you are already married and have children. You even have 2 concubines. How dare you say something like this? You are the young master of the Crimson Moon race. You have no right to marry our saintess. The protectors and elders roared in agitation. Lifeless Crimson Shadow was not angry. He was still looking at Xue Lin greedily. He chuckled, "That's right, I am married and have 2 concubines. If this new saintess marries me, she can only be my concubine. But it can't be helped. After all, the Rakshasa race owes me a saintess. You have to atone for your sins." Hearing this, the Rakshasa clan leader and high priest were so angry that they started laughing. Ha ha ha. Lifeless Crimson Shadow, it's been more than 2,000 years and you are still as shameless as ever. Lifeless Crimson Shadow, you are too arrogant and conceited. With that face of yours, do you think you are qualified to marry our saintess? Dream on. Lifeless Crimson Shadow, if it weren't for Crimson Shadow Sky 9 protecting you, how could a good-for-nothing, ignorant piece of trash like you be able to live freely until now? The mockery and laughter of the crowd deeply irritated Lifeless Crimson Shadow. His face turned darker and the veins on his forehead started to bulge. What the third elder Luo Xie said especially made his face contort in anger. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. ****, how dare you talk to me like that? You have a death wish. Lifeless Crimson Shadow roared as he raised both of his fists and blasted out 2 balls of blazing divine flame toward Luo Xie. Luo Xie and the elders beside him were shocked. They joined forces to cast spells to block the attack. Bam! With a muffled explosion, the barrier of light created by the elders blocked the 2 balls of flames and pulverized them. Lifeless Crimson Shadow's attack was neutralized just like that. Luo Xie and the other elders laughed even more contemptuously. They mocked in a mocking tone, "You dare to make a move against me with just this little bit of strength? A good-for-nothing piece of trash like you wants to marry our saintess? Are you even worthy? Our saintess already has someone in her heart. Lifeless Crimson Shadow, you are asking for humiliation. Get out of Rakshasa Cave now, or you will have to face the consequences today." Chapter 33-28. For the past 2,000 years, the Crimson Lunar Tribe had always looked down on the Rakshasa tribe. Especially Lifeless Crimson Shadow, who despised the Rakshasa tribe and did not take them seriously at all. Now, the elders of the Rakshasa tribe dared to mock and insult him in front of everyone, even calling him a good-for-nothing. He flew into a rage, his blood boiling as murderous intent surged within him. "You bunch of lowly old things, how dare you insult this young lord? Who gave you the courage? Are you tired of living?" As he cursed, Lifeless Crimson Shadow pulled out his divine weapon and was about to attack Luo Xie and the rest. He was enraged and wanted to tear Luo Xie and the rest into pieces. However, Crimson Shadow Tianku raised his arm and stopped him. "Lifeless, don't be rash." Lifeless Crimson Shadow was very respectful to his father and dared not disobey him. He could only suppress his anger. Crimson Shadow Tianku's expression was dark as he stared at the Rakshasa tribe leader and sneered, "Ugh." The Rakshasa tribe who used to be so lowly, wagging their tails and begging for mercy have become so arrogant, daring to challenge the Crimson Lunar Tribe. It looks like the Rakshasa tribe has used the newly conferred saintess to find a new backer. The Rakshasa tribe leader, the high priest, the great guardian, and the rest were silent, tacitly agreeing to this. It was not honorable and would be mocked by the Crimson Lunar Tribe. However, the current situation was such that the Rakshasa tribe's forces were weak and could not stop the Crimson Lunar Tribe's invasion. Other than relying on external forces, the Rakshasa tribe had no other choice. Crimson Shadow Tianku saw that they had tacitly agreed and turned to look at the 5-colored auspicious cloud, his gaze landing on Ji Tianqing. After sizing him up, he sneered in disdain. "Ha! The Rakshasa tribe is really regressing, to have fallen to such a state. There are a few top forces in the Yunyang region and the Rakshasa tribe can't even get close to any of them. They actually found an unknown foreign race kid. Lifeless Crimson Shadow was also sizing up Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu. With his head held high, he sneered disdainfully and said, "Kid, you sure are miserable." When he went out, he didn't even have a guard of honor or guards. He only had a follower. I really don't know if you're lucky or if the Rakshasa people are blind to actually give their saintess to you. TSK TSK TSK. Hand over the holy maiden obediently and kowtow 3 times to this young master. Then, this young master will spare your life. Just now, Luo Xia and the others had mocked and insulted lifeless Crimson Shadow. At this moment, he had to mock Ji Tianqing to his heart's content in order to humiliate the Rakshasa tribe. It was a pity. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 and his son had found the wrong person. Chao Qingyu narrowed his eyes, his expression and gaze turning cold. Looking down at Qiying Tian and his sons, he said with a deep and dignified tone, "All members of the Red Moon clan, including you and your sons, kneel down and kowtow to our master. You only have 3 breaths of time. If you miss this opportunity, you will have to bear the consequences." A vigorous and powerful voice reverberated in the sky, shaking everyone's eardrums. The Rakshasa tribe leader, the high priest, and the others were filled with excitement and anticipation, waiting to watch a good show. They knew Chao Qingyu's means the best. They were waiting to see the Red Moon clan run away in embarrassment. However, Qiying Tian and his sons and the over 300 members of the Red Moon clan were stunned. After being stunned for a moment, they regained their senses and roared with laughter. "Ha ha ha ha, this is ridiculous. Did I hear it wrongly? Where did this reckless thing come from? How dare he ask us to kneel and kowtow? Crazy. That guy must be crazy. It looks like they're most likely not from Yunyang region. They don't even know the name of the Red Moon clan. I didn't expect the Rakshasa tribe to find such an idiot for a marriage alliance. Was his brain kicked by a pig?" Qiying Tian and his sons, as well as many Red Moon clan experts, laughed and discussed mockingly. Chao Qingyu's expression did not change as he began the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Seeing this, the members of the Red Moon clan laughed even more crazily. "Ha ha ha. Is that guy a fool? Did he really take it seriously? To pretend to be strong, he forced himself to this point. How admirable. Stop putting on an act. If you have the ability, come and hit me." Many people laughed and pointed at Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu. They laughed until tears came out. At the same time, Chao Qingyu raised his palms expressionlessly and formed a sword seal with his 10 fingers. He activated his mighty divine power and released a 5-colored sword light that covered the sky. At that moment, the mighty divine power burst out with a terrifying aura that could suppress and destroy everything, covering 1,000 miles. An extremely sacred and unstoppable invisible pressure that belonged to a divine king expert enveloped all the members of the Red Moon clan. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 and the other peak divine lords' faces suddenly changed as they widened their eyes in shock. The bodies of the 300 Red Moon clan experts stiffened and their expressions froze. Their laughter stopped abruptly. Even a fool would know that the ordinary-looking man in the green robe had terrifying strength. Moreover, he was definitely not a divine lord. Could he be a divine king? Thinking about this, the 300-plus powerhouses were filled with shock. They were scared out of their wits. The same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. Run. That's right. Facing a real divine king expert, they had no thoughts of resisting and could only run. However, more than 2,000 enormous 5-colored sword beams poured down like a torrential downpour, sealing off the entire area. It was too late for the Red Moon clan experts to run away. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Bang 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 bang. Rumble rumble rumble. In the next moment, the sword rain poured down and drowned the figures of the Red Moon clan members. Muffled booms and deafening explosions also exploded in the sky, shaking the heavens. During this time, there were countless screams and wails of the Red Moon clan experts. It was chaos. The five-colored divine light shone and covered everything. The people of the Luosha race retreated far away and looked at the situation in the divine light. They were eager to see what would happen to the Red Moon clan. After a while, the five-colored divine light that covered the sky and the sun disappeared. The scene became clear again and everyone saw the situation on the battlefield. They saw that the mountains and the earth within a 1,000-mile radius had become ruins and deep pits. The five-colored auspicious cloud was still floating in the sky and Ji Tianqing and the other two were not hurt at all. On the other hand, the 300 over-experts of the Crimson Moon clan were in a sorry state. At least 40 middle-level and low-level divine lords were smashed into smithereens on the spot by the sword light. Even their godheads were destroyed. The 310 Sir Gods who were lucky enough to survive were all either lightly or heavily injured. The lower and middle divine lords were in the worst state. Their bodies were covered in blood and many of them had broken limbs. Only Qiying Tian and his sons and a few peak divine lords were injured the lightest, but they were also in a terrible state. Chapter 33-29. Cough, cough, supported by two elders of the Crimson Moon tribe, lifeless Chieying coughed violently as blood flowed out of his nose and mouth. His hair was disheveled, his face covered in blood, and there were large bloody holes on his chest and back. His injuries were horrifying. "Father, that guy is too terrifying. We are no match for him. Run." Lifeless Chieying was almost scared out of his wits. His voice trembled as he shouted anxiously. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 and the Crimson Moon clansmen were filled with shock and fear. They still hadn't recovered from the shock. Everyone had no time to heal their injuries as they forced themselves to endure their injuries. They held on to their swords and sabers as they faced the five-colored auspicious clouds in a defensive posture. "Shut up. Stop being so noisy." Crimson Shadow Sky 9 could not help but shout angrily when he saw lifeless Chieying being so disgraceful. The other party's strength was beyond his expectations. However, he still had the backbone and dignity of a powerhouse. He was unwilling to be humiliated in front of the Rakshasa tribe. He looked at Chao Qingyu solemnly and said angrily, "So you are a divine king realm powerhouse. No wonder you are so arrogant. However, don't forget that this is the Yunyang region, not your territory. Although the Crimson Moon tribe is no match for you, we are not afraid of you. This seat will remember this debt." Crimson Shadow Sky 9 then looked at the Rakshasa tribe leader and sneered, "Well done. You have found a divine king from another region to be your backer. No wonder you are so arrogant. However, you will not be happy for long. Let's wait and see." After saying these words, Crimson Shadow Sky 9 was about to leave the Rakshasa cave with the Crimson Moon tribe. The Rakshasa tribe leader and the high priest rarely saw Crimson Shadow Sky 9 being humiliated. Now, seeing the Crimson Moon tribe in such a miserable state, Crimson Shadow Sky 9 was inexplicably angry and humiliated. The people of the Rakshasa clan were excited and laughed heartily. Even the Rakshasa tribe leader's attitude changed a little. He was also more certain that Chao Qingyu had only used 30% of his strength when he attacked them. Otherwise, the Rakshasa tribe would have ended up worse than the Crimson Moon tribe. Seeing the Crimson Moon tribe run away, the storm was about to end. However, a cold and dignified voice suddenly sounded in the sky. "Did I allow you to leave?" As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell silent. Countless people raised their heads and looked at the colorful clouds in the sky. Their eyes were focused on Ji Tianqing. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 frowned and asked with a gloomy expression, "What do you want to do?" Ji Tianqing looked down at him indifferently and said in an indifferent tone, no one has ever come out unscathed after humiliating me. Both of you, father and son, leave behind a pair of arms each. Then, kneel down and kowtow to apologize before you can leave. As soon as these words were spoken, the Red Moon clansmen widened their eyes in shock. Their faces were filled with grief, anger, and humiliation. The Rakshasas, on the other hand, were inexplicably excited. They could not help but wave their fists and cheer. They were filled with anticipation as they looked at Crimson Shadow Sky 9 with schadenfreude, mocking him without restraint. Ha ha ha. Crimson Shadow Sky 9, to think that you would have such a day. Do you know who this young master is? The famous Region Lord Tiger Cleaver. This Region Lord is the future husband of our tribe saint. How dare you be so presumptuous toward the Region Lord? You're asking for humiliation. Crimson Shadow Sky 9, what are you still standing there for? Cut off your son's arms and kneel down to the Region Lord to apologize. You reap what you sow. If it weren't for Crimson Shadow being too arrogant and brainless, how could he have ended up like this? Hearing the crowd's mockery, Crimson Shadow Sky 9 finally understood Ji Tianqing's identity. Region Lord Tiger Che. Did the Rakshasa tribe's lowly dogs really marry a foreign region's divine king? Crimson Shadow Sky 9's expression was extremely ugly. He struggled internally, hesitating. As for Crimson Shadow, he was already drenched in cold sweat. He cursed fiercely, "What Region Lord Tiger Che? I've never heard of him. Let me tell you, don't go overboard. Don't go overboard so that we can meet again in the future. This is the Yunyang region, you can't do whatever you want here." Ji Tianqing ignored Crimson Shadow and stared at Crimson Shadow Sky 9 coldly. My patience is limited. If you haven't made up your mind within 3 breaths, then don't hesitate. I'll send all of you home personally. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 and the Crimson Lunar Tribe's experts froze when they heard this. They were filled with resentment and despair. Crimson Shadow was stunned. He scratched his head subconsciously and mumbled, "I have my own legs. Do I need you to send us home?" Hearing this, many Crimson Lunar Tribe's experts looked at him with complicated gazes. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 felt powerless. He wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. Just like what the Rakshasa tribe had said, if he had not controlled the Crimson Lunar Tribe and protected Crimson Shadow, he would have been dead by now. With Crimson Shadow's intelligence and strength, he would have died a long time ago. 3, 2, 1. Chao Qingyu began the countdown again. Crimson Shadow Sky 9's heart was tormented. He was enduring great humiliation, anger, and unwillingness. However, he knew the consequences of offending this Region Lord. Therefore, when Chao Qingyu's countdown ended, he could only suppress his grief and make up his mind. Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 pulled out his divine sword and turned to slash at Crimson Shadow behind him. Pft! 2 muffled sounds rang out at the same time. Blood splattered everywhere. Both of Crimson Shadow's arms were severed. His arms flew into the sky and fell to the ground. His sword was so fast that Crimson Shadow could not react in time. After a while, Crimson Shadow felt the pain and let out a shrill cry. Ah! Father, why did you do this? How could you do this? Crimson Shadow was rolling on the ground in pain as he questioned his father with all his might. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 endured the humiliation and grief and chopped off his own arms with his sword. Thump! Thump! With 2 muffled sounds, his arms fell into the ruins. The divine sword automatically returned to its scabbard and hid in Crimson Shadow Sky 9's body. He slowly knelt down and kowtowed 3 times to the 5-colored auspicious cloud. Then, he said in a low and trembling voice, "I failed to recognize Mount Tai and offended the Region Lord. I'm willing to accept my punishment." Crimson Shadow was still wailing. He was also scolded by him. In order to survive, Crimson Shadow endured the pain and humiliation and knelt down to apologize. Crimson Shadow Sky 9 and his son were the ones who cut off their arms and kowtowed to apologize. However, this was undoubtedly a great humiliation that tormented everyone in the Crimson Moon clan. More than 300 Crimson Moon clan members were filled with grief and humiliation. They lowered their heads to mourn. Ji Tianqing glanced at them indifferently and said, "Scram." Crimson Shadow Sky 9 bowed to express his gratitude and then left with the Crimson Moon clan members. Whoosh! Whoosh! The Crimson Moon clan members were silent and left the Luo Sha cave as fast as they could. Everyone from the Rakshasa tribe who had witnessed the entire process felt exhilarated and exhilarated. Chapter 33:30. Ha ha ha. The bastards of the Crimson Moon clan have such a day. Territorial Lord Hu Che has avenged us. It's so satisfying to see the Crimson Shadow clan's 9 sons. Back then, the Crimson Moon clan killed nearly 10,000 of our people. How vicious and cruel were they? The humiliation they suffered today is just a little interest. It's not revenge. We have a marriage alliance with Territorial Lord Hu Che. Our clan will definitely rise again in the future. Revenge against the Crimson Moon clan is just around the corner. After this battle, the Crimson Moon clan's vitality has been greatly damaged. Those powerhouses will need at least 20 years to recover. The protectors, elders, and powerhouses of the Rakshasa clan were all discussing excitedly. Their spirits were high. As a result, their impression of Ji Tianqing became even more intimate. They even regarded Ji Tianqing as the son-in-law of the Rakshasa clan and a powerful backer in the future. However, Ji Tianqing had no intention of staying. Chao Qingyu waved his hand and cast a spell, shooting out rays of divine light and breaking the seal of the Rakshasa cave in a few moves. Swoosh! A 5-colored screen of light appeared in the sky, and a wide door opened. The 5-colored auspicious cloud passed through the gap and disappeared in the sky, leaving the Rakshasa cave. The Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, the great protector, and the others were stunned for a moment and then hurriedly chased out. Territorial Lord, wait! After flying out of the Rakshasa cave, everyone flew into the sky and chased after the 5-colored auspicious cloud. The 5-colored auspicious cloud stopped. Ji Tianqing, Chao Qingyu, and Lin Shui all turned to look at everyone. What's the matter? Chao Qingyu asked with a displeased expression. The Rakshasa clan leader and the others came closer and hurriedly bowed and explained, Territorial Lord, please don't misunderstand. You helped us out just now and taught those bastards of the Crimson Moon clan a lesson. You've helped us so much. We haven't even had the chance to thank you. Okay, got it. Chao Qingyu nodded indifferently and was about to control the 5-colored auspicious cloud to leave. The Rakshasa clan leader and the others hurriedly bowed and thanked him. At this time, Lin Shui suddenly said to Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu telepathically, are we leaving just like that? What about third elder Luo Xie? Are we going to let him go just like that? My parents' corpses have been ground to dust by him. I can't let this go. Only then did Ji Tianqing remember that he had indeed neglected this matter. Meng Yu has already paid the appropriate price, and the main culprit, Luo Xie, is still alive. It's Luo Xie, it Luo Luos, Chao Qingyu said. Chao Qingyu thought for a moment and reminded him, young master, these guys are deeply grateful to us. If you directly kill Luo Xie, wouldn't it be a little, Ji Tianqing revealed a playful smile and said, I naturally won't kill Luo Xie in front of them. That would be letting him off too easily. Then, he looked down at the Rakshasa clan leader, high priest, and the others and said, I know that you guys will be worried if I bring the Saintess out to play like this. The high priest, protector, and the others hurriedly waved and shook their heads, denying it. Don't misunderstand, Territorial Lord. We definitely don't have such thoughts. Do you know how honorable and transcendent the Region Lord is? Why would we doubt your character? We believe in your words very much. Only the Rakshasa clan leader did not express her opinion. After all, Ji Tianqing spoke her mind. Ji Tianqing raised his hand to signal for everyone to be quiet. He said calmly, "You don't have to explain. I know what I'm doing. To make you feel at ease, I can choose an elder to follow." After he finished speaking, he swept his gaze across the elders, as if he was sizing them up and considering them. The few elders were wild with joy and excitement. They wanted to seize this opportunity to get close to a divine king powerhouse. Ji Tianqing looked around. Finally, his gaze landed on Luo Xie. This elder is strong and has an extraordinary bearing. He'll be the one. Luo Xie was overwhelmed by the favor. He was so excited that he thought to himself, "Heavens! Is my luck really turning for the better? Am I going to achieve meteoric success? Not only did I make a great contribution, but I also got the clan leader's reward. Even this Region Lord Hutch also sees me in a new light. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as I win the favor of Region Lord Hutch, why would I worry about not having a lucky chance?" Under the envious gazes of the few elders, Luo Xie nodded his head repeatedly and agreed. He said flatteringly, "Many thanks for Territorial Lord's great favor. This is Junior's honor." The Rakshasa clan leader's expression and gaze also clearly eased up a lot. She felt more at ease in her heart. Following that, Luo Xie flew towards the five-colored auspicious cloud under everyone's gaze. Landing on the five-colored auspicious cloud, he hurriedly bowed to Ji Tianqing and said carefully, "My lord, with your identity and status, how can you not have a solemn and dignified guard of honor when you go out for a trip? Furthermore, for you and Holy Maiden to have fun, you still need a group of guards and attendants. This way, it'll be more convenient." Luo Xie's meaning was very clear. He wanted to bring more people to follow Ji Tianqing. The Rakshasa clan leader slightly nodded with a touch of relief in his eyes. He was very satisfied with Luo Xie's performance. Ji Tianqing also guessed Luo Xie's intention, so he nodded and said, "That's true. Then you arrange it." Luo Xie was even more excited and quickly said, "Thank you for your trust, Territorial Lord. It just so happens that I have a group of loyal and sensible guards. I'll let them follow you and Holy Maiden along the way and serve you and Holy Maiden well." After that, he sent a message to the commanders and captains of the imperial army. After a while, 4 divine emperors in golden armor and more than 30 in silver armor quickly arrived on the five-colored auspicious cloud. These commanders and captains of the imperial army all knelt on one knee to show their loyalty to Ji Tianqing and the other 2. Ji Tianqing nodded indifferently, indicating that he agreed to let them follow. This matter was settled. Luo Xie and the Rakshasa clan leader were full of joy. The five-colored auspicious cloud turned around and was about to leave the Rakshasa cave under everyone's cheers. However, no one had expected. At this moment, a huge crack suddenly appeared in the sky above everyone's heads. Kaboom! 2 clusters of dazzling divine light crawled out of the 1,000-mile-long space crack and fell down like shooting stars. Moreover, an extremely powerful invisible divine power that could suppress heaven and earth came crashing down from the sky. A deep and dignified middle-aged man's voice rang in everyone's ears. "Where is the Rakshasa clan leader? The Territorial Lord has arrived. Kneel and greet him." This majestic voice reverberated endlessly between heaven and earth, causing the earth to tremble. Everyone's expression changed when they heard the words. The Rakshasa tribe leader, the high priest, and the others were stunned for a moment before they exclaimed in surprise. "The Territorial Lord has arrived? Is Territorial Lord Yunyang here? Oh my God! Why is Territorial Lord Yunyang here at this time? We're doomed. How can we explain Territorial Lord Yunyang's arrival?" Chapter 33-31. Initially, the matter had been settled. With Luo Xia leading over 30 divine lords to follow Ji Tianqing and Lin Shui, it was a safe bet. The Rakshasa leader, high priest and others had also planned to prepare for the marriage in 3 days' time. However, no one had expected region leader Yun Yang to appear out of nowhere. Even though his arrival was very coincidental, and it was also unexpected by everyone. However, the Rakshasa leader, high priest and others let it go after giving it some thought. After all, they had already contacted region leader Yun Yang. Region leader Yun Yang had also replied, clearly stating that he would come to the Rakshasa cave to see the new saint with his own eyes. Calculating the time, he should be here today. However, the current situation was rather awkward. The entire place was silent. After being stunned for a moment, the Rakshasa leader came back to his senses and hurriedly led the high priest and others to welcome him. The people of the Rakshasa tribe welcomed the region leader's arrival. Everyone bowed respectfully and shouted in unison. As their voices reverberated in the sky, the 2 balls of divine light landed on top of everyone's heads and gradually dissipated. 2 tall and muscular silhouettes appeared in front of everyone. The person in the lead was a young man with a handsome appearance and a thin body. This person wore a white divine robe with a purple cloak and a luxurious crown on his head. His long, fiery red hair fell to his shoulders and danced in the wind, looking carefree and unruly. To most of the god tribe's ladies, this handsome red-haired youth was irresistibly attractive. After all, he was a powerful middle divine king and also the honorable region leader Yun Yang. Standing behind Territory Lord Yun Yang was a middle-aged man with a muscular physique. This person's build was like an iron tower, his skin as dark as an old bear's. His face was resolute and dignified, his eyes as large as bronze bells emitting an aura of authority. Although he was also an honorable divine king expert, he was a middle divine king. However, he was a lower deity king, the guard and assistant of region Lord Yun Yang. His status was basically on par with Chao Qingyu. However, the situation was slightly different. After all, Ji Tianqing, the region leader Tiger Che, was a fake. All the top forces in the Cloud Yang region knew that this middle-aged divine king was called Divine King Lingfeng. Usually, Territory Lord Yun Yang would be cultivating in seclusion to comprehend the divine Tao. Cloud Yang region's various affairs were basically handed over to Soaring Wind Divine King to manage. This person was Governor Yun Yang's absolute confidant, his presence akin to a right-hand man. When the Rakshasa people were done with their greetings, Territorial Lord Yun Yang nodded slightly and said calmly, "You may rise." After receiving permission, the Rakshasa people stood up one after another. Territory Lord Yun Yang stared at the Rakshasa leader and asked in a playful tone, "Has the ceremony to confer the title of saintess ended? Why is Luocha cave still so lively?" The Rakshasa clan leader did not dare to hide anything. He quickly replied, reporting to the territorial lord, "You've come at the right time. The conferring ceremony has just ended." Oh. Region leader Yun Yang raised an eyebrow and said with a smile, "If so, then bring me into Rakshasa cave and summon the new saint here. Let me take a good look at her." This. The Rakshasa leader looked troubled as he glanced at Ji Tianqing and Lin Shui, hesitant. The high priest was quick-witted and quickly came to the rescue, saying, "Please be patient, territorial lord. You've just arrived at Rakshasa cave and haven't rested yet. How about this, we'll bring you into Rakshasa cave and serve you well. Once we've done our duty as hosts, we'll summon the saintess for an audience." Before the high priest could finish, Soaring Wind Divine King who was behind Yun Yang frowned and hollered sternly, "How dare you? How precious is the territorial lord's time? I've asked you to summon the saintess for an audience, what are you waiting for? How can you bear the responsibility if you delay the territorial lord's official business?" As he spoke, Soaring Wind Divine King released an invisible divine aura that enveloped the Rakshasa leader and the rest. The group was suppressed by the invisible divine aura, their bodies trembling as fear filled them. Of course. While they were fearful, they were also enraged and humiliated. They had long known that territorial Lord Yun-yang was very arrogant and did not take the Rakshasa tribe seriously. However, they had not expected Soaring Wind Divine King to be so arrogant and overbearing, humiliating the Rakshasa tribe without restraint. In comparison, territorial Lord Hutch seemed to be gentler. Seeing the Rakshasa leader and the rest remaining silent, territorial Lord Yun-yang frowned and asked coldly, "What? Are you trying to stall for time with this king? Don't forget. It was you who came to me, begging me to take the saintess as my concubine. Now that I've come personally, you're trying to stall for time in a secretive manner. Has this king not fought for too long that you've all forgotten what fear is?" Territorial Lord Yun-yang's attitude was even more aggressive and frightening than Soaring Wind Divine King's. Everyone knew that the Rakshasa tribe would be doomed once he attacked in a rage. The high priest, guardian, and the rest were worried and could not help looking at Ji Tianqing and Lin Shui. The Rakshasa leader finally made his decision after a moment of hesitation. He bowed to territorial Lord Yun-yang and laid his cards on the table. "Lord Territorial Lord, it's not that we want to stall for time, it's just that, the new saintess, Lin Shui, is not in the Rakshasa cave. She's on the rainbow auspicious cloud beside you." Just now, when the saintess coronation ceremony ended, Lord Hutch barged into the Rakshasa cave and said that he fell in love with the saintess at first sight and wanted to marry her. Before the Rakshasa leader could finish, territorial Lord Yun-yang and Soaring Wind Divine King's expressions changed. Both of them turned to look at the rainbow auspicious cloud at the same time, their gazes landing on Ji Tianqing and Lin Shui. "This is the Rakshasa tribe's newly crowned saintess. She's quite pretty indeed." Territorial Lord Yun-yang studied Lin Shui from head to toe and nodded in satisfaction. Then, his gaze landed on Ji Tianqing. As he did so, he could not help muttering, "Territorial Lord Hutch. This title is very unfamiliar. There are almost 100 territorial lords on this continent, I know at least 80% of them, but I've never heard of Hutch territory." Both territorial Lord Yun-yang and Soaring Wind Divine King released their deific consciousness to check on Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu's cultivation base. Chao Qingyu's cultivation base was clear at a glance. He was a third-degree lower Divine King, his ability on par with Soaring Wind Divine King. However, Ji Tianqing's cultivation base was a blur, it could not be discerned at all. Of course, he possessed the aura that belonged to a Divine King expert. Territorial Lord Yun-yang was enraged, but he suppressed his anger and did not flare up for the time being. After studying Ji Tianqing a few times, he asked in a low voice, "Territorial Lord Hutch. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jing Feihong, the current territorial lord of Yun-yang territory." Ji Tianqing looked at him expressionlessly and asked, "What do you want?" Jing Feihong grinned coldly and said in a playful tone, "Territorial Lord Hutch, I don't care whether your identity is real or fake, nor do I care where you come from. You're in my territory now, but you've snatched away my wife and concubine that I've already reserved. Aren't you being too arrogant and domineering by doing so? Are you humiliating me?" Chapter 33-32. In everyone's eyes, Ji Tianqing and Jing Feihong were both the lords of a region. But the two people's way of doing things and auras were entirely different. Ji Tianqing was like the vast starry sky, very mysterious, boundless, and unfathomable. While Jing Feihong was like a sharp sword that supported heaven and earth, piercing the firmament, showing off his sharp edge, overbearing and overbearing. Just 2 sentences caused the atmosphere to freeze, swords drawn and bows bent. He did not conceal his anger and killing intent in the slightest, staring at Ji Tianqing with a fierce gaze, wanting to make a move at a word of disagreement. But everyone could understand too. After all, this place was Jing Feihong's territory. It was also his marriage alliance with the Rakshasa clan first. It was indeed Ji Tianqing who interfered, forcefully bringing away holy daughter Lin Shui. Ji Tianqing looked at Jing Feihong with an indifferent expression and said in a relaxed tone, "Why does this king need to explain to you when doing things? If you think that this king is humiliating you, then so be it." Immediately, the atmosphere in the field became tense to the extreme. Jing Feihong and Towering Wind Divine King's expressions also became extremely cold, their gazes very fierce. Unparalleled fury and killing intent erupted from the two people's bodies, engulfing a radius of 10,000 miles. "Brat, you're courting death here." Jing Feihong gave an angry cry, raising both fists brazenly, erupting with 100% power, smashing fiercely towards Ji Tianqing. Divine Elephant Heaven Shaking Fist. Blinding divine light gushed out from Jing Feihong's two fists, condensing into two fist lights that were as large as mountains, smashing fiercely towards the five-colored auspicious cloud. Inside the dazzling five-colored fist lights contained 200 kinds of divine Tao laws, erupting with a divine power undulation that could obliterate heaven and earth. Jing Feihong was a middle-level divine king of the fifth-degree realm, grasping 410 kinds of divine Tao laws. But he could at most utilize half of his divine Tao laws in an actual battle. This was also a normal situation. Among 1,000 divine king powerhouses, 999 people were like this. Him going all out the moment he made his move also harbored sinister intentions. He wanted to catch Ji Tianqing unprepared, injuring Ji Tianqing with lightning-quick means. In this way, not only could he intimidate everyone and establish his prestige, he could also end the battle quickly and save energy. Although his idea was good, he had underestimated Ji Tianqing's strength and methods. Ji Tianqing was able to determine his nature in just a short moment of contact and a short exchange of words. Therefore, he expected that he would go all out from the get-go. Therefore, Ji Tianqing was already prepared. Sword of Destruction. Ji Tianqing also snorted coldly as he formed a sword seal with both hands. He activated the terrifying power of the five elements world and released two gigantic golden swords that were thousands of feet long. He also exerted his full strength, utilized his trump card, and utilized 220 types of divine Tao laws. Boom! Following an earth-shattering explosion, a loud noise erupted. Two dazzling golden swords slashed at the two fist shadows with a loud bang. Suddenly, the giant golden sword shattered into billions of pieces, and the five-colored fist radiance also shattered into endless divine light. Hundreds of divine Tao laws of different attributes collided fiercely in the sky, canceling each other out and exploding. The destructive shockwave carried billions of divine light fragments and swept in all directions, affecting a radius of nearly 10,000 miles. Ji Tianqing and Jing Feihong both blocked the terrifying shockwave. High Wind Divine King, Chao Qingyu, Lin Shui, and the others were all unharmed. However, the Rakshasa people were in a miserable state. The first to bear the brunt was naturally Luo Xia and more than 30 commanders and captains of the Forbidden Army. Ji Tianqing wanted to kill them, so why would he help them block the shockwave? When the destructive five-colored hurricane carried the divine light fragments and the power of the divine Tao laws, it swept across everyone. Luo Xia, a peak divine lord, only lasted for 2 seconds before he was shattered into pieces and turned into a rain of blood. Even his divine spark was shattered into more than 20 pieces and he died on the spot. More than 30 commanders and captains of the Forbidden Army were instantly killed. They were not qualified to block at all and were directly turned into dust by the shockwave. Not far away, the Rakshasa clan leader, the Grand Priest, and the Great Guardian were also severely injured. When Jing Feihong attacked, they knew something was wrong and retreated as fast as they could. However, they were only 1,000 miles away when the terrifying shockwave engulfed them. Bam! 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 Poof! Arg! With a series of muffled sounds, the Rakshasa clan leader and the others were sent flying. The clan leader, the Grand Priest, the Great Guardian, and the two peak divine lords were severely injured. Their limbs were broken and blood spurted out of their orifices. As for the elders and deacons, they were blasted into pieces on the spot and blood rained down. The clan leader, the grand priest, the great guardian, and the others who were lucky enough to survive didn't have time to be angry and cursed. They looked around and saw that everything within 10,000 miles had turned into ruins. The mountains, forests, and lakes had all disappeared. Only then did everyone see how terrifying the battle between divine kings at the territorial lord level was. Damn it! Everyone, hide back in Rakshasa cave. We mustn't be affected again. Those two cruel and cold-blooded bastards don't care about our lives at all. Stop complaining. The battle between divine king experts isn't something we can participate in. We don't even have the right to watch. The clan leader, the grand priest, and the others exclaimed and discussed. They hurriedly activated the Rakshasa cave's formation and hid back inside. On the ruined battlefield, only Ji Tianxing, Chao Qingyu, Lin Shui, Jing Feihong, and divine king Lingfeng were left. The five of them were divided into two groups and stood 1,000 miles apart in the sky, facing each other with murderous intent. Jing Feihong glared at Ji Tianxing and sneered coldly, You can actually block this king's fatal blow. You're quite capable indeed. Now, this king believes that you're definitely qualified to be a territorial lord. No wonder you're so arrogant, daring to snatch this king's chosen wife and concubine. Ji Tianxing frowned and said contemptuously, Yunyang region's lord, the so-called peerless genius that only appears once every 10,000 years, is nothing more than this. You're not worthy of Lin Shui with this little ability of yours. Ha ha ha. Jing Feihong laughed from extreme anger. His expression was cold as he said in a venomous tone, Child, if you want to enrage this king, congratulations on your success. This king doesn't care about the Rakshasa tribe's saint and doesn't care about her life or death. However, this king has a marriage alliance with the Rakshasa tribe and wants to take her as my concubine. You dare to snatch her from me and humiliate me so brazenly. This king will not rest until you're dead. Unless you keep the saint and apologize to this king. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving Yunyang region alive today. Ji Tianxing raised his eyebrows and sneered as he said in a contemptuous tone, this was originally a small matter and this king didn't want to kill you. However, since you're so insistent on seeking death, this king can only fulfill your wish. Of course. There was still something in his heart that he did not say out loud. This is my first battle after recovering the realm of Divine King and it's against an intermediate Divine King. I'll use this fellow as a whetstone. I'll test my true combat power and see how far it has come. I'll also see how much of the 3,000 Dao I've mastered back then I can perform now. Chapter 33-33. Ha ha ha. What shameless boasting. Jing Feihong glared at Ji Tianxing and laughed contemptuously. You dare to open a dye house just because I gave you some face. You think too highly of yourself. Ji Tianxing couldn't be bothered to bicker with him. He took out the sword of burial of heaven and shouted coldly, cut the crap and die. As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Tianxing swung the heaven burier sword and unleashed an overwhelming five-colored sword radiance toward Jing Feihong. The sharp sword energy tore through the sky and space and locked onto Jing Feihong's aura. He had nowhere to run. However, he didn't panic. He quickly took out a king-grade divine saber and slashed it with overbearing might. Heaven-splitting saber. Kaboom! Amidst a deafening explosion, the 1,000-meter-long saber light shattered the sword light that filled the sky. Then, the saber light collapsed and exploded. However, the power of the two was too violent. While the divine saber and the sword of burial of heaven collided with each other and exploded with a deafening sound. Clang! The sound of metal clashing spread for thousands of miles. It pierced through metal and cracked stone. Cracks appeared in the sky. Ji Tianxing was sent flying backward on the spot, falling into the sky 100 miles away. The Heaven Burier sword in his hand was also trembling incessantly, letting out a series of low wails. Obviously, the sword of burial of heaven and the king grade divine saber clashed and suffered a great loss. Although the blade didn't seem to be damaged. However, if they collided a few more times, the sword of burial of heaven would most likely crack and break. After all, it was only a king grade divine weapon and not a king grade divine weapon. There was a fundamental difference between the two. Ha ha ha. What a joke. Jing Feihong held the divine saber and looked at Ji Tianqing, who was sent flying hundreds of miles away. He looked up to the sky and laughed. The Region Lord Tiger Che doesn't even have a king grade divine artifact, and he's still using a monarch grade divine sword. You, the Domain Lord, are really poor to the extreme. How pitiful. When the two of them clashed just now, in terms of the power of their divine abilities and their own combat strength, they were evenly matched. However, when the two divine weapons clashed, it was obvious who was superior. Ji Tianqing suffered a great loss. This made Ji Tianqing full of resentment, but there was nothing he could do. He had just broken through to the divine king realm, so he didn't have time to forge the sword of burial of heaven. What's more, he still lacked several refining materials to upgrade the burial of heaven to the king grade. Right now, there was no way to make up for this shortcoming. Ji Tianqing could only execute an even more powerful divine ability and erupt with even more strength. Only then would he have a chance to defeat Jing Feihong. Chao Qingyu was filled with worry and anxiety when he saw this. Other than his natal divine artifact, he had a few king-grade divine artifacts. He originally wanted to take out a king-grade divine sword and lend it to Ji Tianqing to use. But powerful enemies were lying in wait. If he took out a king-grade divine sword to Ji Tianqing now, it would definitely make Jing Feihong despise and mock him even more. Seeing as Jing Feihong brandished his divine saber once more, charging towards Ji Tianqing aggressively. Chao Qingyu took out the Azure Jade divine sword without hesitation and intercepted Jing Feihong from the side. However, the Towering Wind Divine King, who was waiting for the opportunity long ago, seized the opportunity to launch a sneak attack, stabbing straight for Chao Qingyu's vitals. Your opponent is this king. Hand over your life. Towering Wind Divine King roared angrily, both hands gripping a gilded divine spear, rumbling over like a meteor from beyond the heavens. If Chao Qingyu insisted on helping Ji Tianqing, he was bound to suffer heavy injuries himself. Helpless, he could only put away his divine sword and turn around to block Towering Wind Divine King's assault. Bang! 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 The dazzling sword light and spear light collided, erupting with a deafening explosion, bursting forth with a world-destroying shock wave. Over 100 types of divine Tao law powers also transformed into a myriad of magnificent scenes, drowning out this part of heaven and earth. Towering Wind Divine King and Chao Qingyu were evenly matched, neither gaining the upper hand. After a fierce collision, the two were blasted back 100 miles, panting heavily. However, the two immediately suppressed their surging divine power and executed even more exquisite divine abilities, starting a fight high up in the sky. Boom! 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 The two figures constantly flickered in the sky, shuttling back and forth as fast as lightning, dodging and evading. After exchanging a few moves, the two fought with all their might, only wanting to kill each other with the fastest speed and end the battle. With such thoughts in mind, the two fought with unparalleled ferocity. Their figures constantly moved into the distance, no longer caring about Ji Tianqing and Jing Feihong. At the same time, Ji Tianqing and Jing Feihong were also entangled endlessly, starting a fierce battle. The two figures constantly collided and separated, flashing back and forth in the sky, their trajectories difficult to capture. Both of them executed divine abilities that could destroy heaven and earth, releasing 5-colored divine light, saber light and sword light that blotted out the sky. All kinds of divine abilities and the power of laws violently collided in heaven and earth, erupting with earth-shattering rumbles. In a short while, the ground within a radius of 30,000 miles was destroyed into ruins, the sky was also shattered into pieces. Moreover, as time passed, the two of them kept moving the battlefield, getting further and further away from the entrance of Rakshasa cave. After an hour, the two of them had already traveled 100,000 miles, raising this part of heaven and earth into ruins. As far as the eye could see, the majestic mountains and valleys, the lush forests and grasslands had all disappeared. The entire area was in ruins, and there were deep pits and ravines all over the place. Smoke and dust filled the air, and there were many cracks and pits in the sky that were slowly healing. However, Ji Tianqing and Jing Feihong still had not decided a victor, and were still evenly matched. Both of them had suffered some minor injuries, their long hair was scattered, their white robes were stained with blood, and their bodies were drenched in sweat. However, with their abilities, they would not be exhausted even if they fought for another 2 days and 2 nights. Of course, the most anxious person in this situation was Jing Feihong. He was the region Lord Yunyang, and this was his territory. Moreover, he had an even greater advantage with the help of his divine weapon. Logically speaking, he should have gained the upper hand long ago and suppressed Ji Tianqing in all aspects. However, Ji Tianqing's abilities and methods were far beyond his expectations, and the more he fought, the more fearful he became. Within an hour, Ji Tianqing had executed tens of thousands of divine abilities and skills, and there were very few repetitions. All sorts of divine abilities, secret techniques, and ultimate sword Dao skills were displayed to the acme of perfection and transcendence, causing one to gasp in amazement. Even Jing Feihong himself could not help but admit this fact. It's fortunate that I have an emperor-level divine weapon, so I can fight him to a draw. If he had an emperor-level divine weapon as well, would have been defeated long ago with his abilities and methods. Jing Feihong grew more fearful as he fought, his confidence in winning gradually crumbling. He even had the thought of ending the battle as soon as possible, unwilling to be entangled any longer. On the other side, Chao Qingyu and Lingfeng Divine King's battle had also reached its most intense moment, and it was hard to tell who was the victor. Both of them were lower divine kings of the 3rd degree realm, and both of them had a strong foundation and accumulation. Their battle experience was rich, and their understanding of various divine abilities and principles was quite profound. Although both of them had suffered light injuries and looked rather pathetic, both of them knew that even if they fought for 3 days and 3 nights, until they were exhausted, they could not kill each other. Chapter 33-34. Even though Ji Tianqing and Jing Feihong, as well as Chao Qingyu and Divine King Lingfeng, were still fighting fiercely. However, the battle between the 4 divine kings had already fallen into a stalemate. Within a short period of time, if nothing unexpected happened, it was basically impossible to determine the victor. Fortunately, Chao Qingyu recalled Lin Shui into the divine worship before the battle began. The Rakshasa tribe leader, high priest, and the rest also hid in Rakshasa cave in time. The battle between the 4 divine kings destroyed hundreds of thousands of miles of heaven and earth, but it did not harm the innocent. After Ji Tianqing and Jing Feihong exchanged a few more blows, he frowned and thought to himself, it's not a solution to continue like this. Jing Feihong has the advantage of a king-level divine weapon, it's very difficult for me to kill him. Even if I use my most powerful ultimate skill, I can only injure him, I can't even capture him. Since that's the case, I can only use Divine King Lingfeng as a breakthrough point. After making up his mind, Ji Tianqing used his deific consciousness to send a message to Chao Qingyu who was 30,000 miles away. Don't fight alone anymore. Inform Miss Lan, to find a chance to ambush Divine King Lingfeng. Chao Qingyu was fighting fiercely with Divine King Lingfeng, focusing on executing his divine abilities and ultimate skills. When he suddenly heard Ji Tianqing's voice transmission, he immediately understood Ji Tianqing's intention. He hurriedly replied, "Understood." Lan had been in seclusion in the Emerald Divine Worship and did not know the situation outside. Chao Qingyu was worried that she would be injured by Divine King Lingfeng if she participated in the battle rashly due to her weak ability, so he did not inform her. However, it was different now. Ji Tianqing's voice transmission reminded him. Obviously, there was a plan to be carried out, so he had to cooperate fully. Lan, young Master Tianqing and I have encountered strong enemies now. Two Divine King experts, one is Region Ruler Tianqing, the other is his assistant. Chao Qingyu contacted Lan in the Divine Worship while fighting Divine King Lingfeng. Lan was cultivating in seclusion in the secret room. When she heard the voice transmission, she immediately ended her cultivation. She quickly entered a combat-ready state, and her essence, energy, and spirit reached their peak. She transmitted her voice and asked, "Green Jade, how do I need to cooperate with you?" Chao Qingyu answered without hesitation, "High Wind God King is not on guard against me and is going all out to deal with me. I will use my trump card and ultimate skill to create pressure for God King High Wind. You take the opportunity to sneak attack him. As long as we can injure him, we will have a chance to win." Lan understood what he meant and hurriedly agreed via voice transmission. Hence, after Chao Qingyu exchanged a few moves with Divine King High Wind, he suddenly used his trump card. Furious Blood Clear Sky. Chao Qingyu roared angrily. His entire body was burning with bloody flames, and his divine power was boiling. His strength exploded to the extreme, and his battle prowess reached 120%. Moreover, he held the Azure Jade Divine Sword with both hands. His body expanded to a height of 30 meters as he brazenly slashed out with his strongest attack. Sky-rending strike. Following his furious roar, the Azure Jade Divine Sword burst forth with boundless divine light, condensing into a resplendent giant sword that was 3 kilometers long. The giant sword locked onto God King High Wind's aura. It contained over 80 types of divine Tao laws and released a power that could destroy everything as it slashed at God King High Wind. The sky shattered, and a ravine that was 50 kilometers long opened up. Before the giant sword arrived, God King High Wind felt as if his entire body was pricked by needles. His face was distorted, and his eyes became incomparably grave. "Damn it! Are you crazy, you bastard? Such a move will harm you even if you kill 1,000 enemies. Do you want to perish together with me?" God King High Wind glared as he roared with murderous intent. Of course. He knew that he could not dodge this sword and could only use his strongest strength to block it. Once he blocked this sword, Chao Qingyu's strength would be greatly depleted, and he would have a chance to counterattack. Myriad Technique Divine Seal. At the critical moment, God King High Wind also erupted with all his strength. He did not hesitate to consume 500 years of his lifespan to push his cultivation to the limit. He formed a divine seal with both hands and rapidly condensed tens of thousands of Dharma seals, forming a 5-colored barrier around him. The barrier formed by the myriad Tao Dharma seals was like a giant light screen, protecting him firmly. The instant the barrier formed, the giant sword that could split heaven and earth slashed down. Boom! Crack! Following an earth-shattering explosion, a huge crack was opened up on the barrier on the spot. The unparalleled berserk impact tore the barrier apart, blasting out tens of thousands of fragments. Even though the giant sword also cracked open with cracks, and its strength was rapidly weakening. But the 5-colored barrier collapsed. God King High Wind was sent flying backward by the giant sword, vomiting blood as he landed 50 kilometers away. Thud! God King High Wind smashed into the ruins, giving off a dull thud as dust filled the air. Poowork, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His complexion was pale as paper, and his body was also trembling. The divine power in his body was flowing wildly, and his aura was also in chaos. Lowering his head to look at his chest, he saw a hideous indentation that was bleeding out continuously. Damn bastard! This king is going to kill you and tear your corpse into 1,000 pieces. God King High Wind cursed furiously. He crawled up from the ground and hurriedly circulated his power to suppress his injuries. His eyes glared angrily at Chao Qingyu 50 kilometers away, unable to restrain his anger. Surging killing intent burst forth from his entire body. However, he did not know at all. Just as the five-colored barrier was blasted apart and he was sent flying backward, Lana had already left the Azure Jade Divine Worship. She maintained a state of invisibility and concealed her aura. She quietly flew across the sky and launched an ambush at God King High Wind. If it were normal times, with her first-level Divine King Realm strength, it was absolutely impossible for her to ambush God King High Wind. When she was within 10 kilometers of God King High Wind and released her killing intent, God King High Wind could already detect it. And now, the commotion caused by Chao Qingyu and God King High Wind's fight was too great. It could be said to shake the 9 firmaments. God King High Wind was injured by Chao Qingyu again, flying backward while vomiting blood. He was unable to restrain his anger, his killing intent soaring. His vigilance naturally dropped. Furthermore, his attention was all on Chao Qingyu and did not guard against someone ambushing him at all. This way, Lana's sneak attack succeeding was also an inevitable outcome. Whoosh! 100 meters behind God King High Wind, space distorted and undulated. Lana appeared out of thin air. She gripped a short sword tightly with both hands and erupted with the fastest speed, tearing across the sky like a bolt of lightning. God King High Wind had just realized that danger was approaching and had yet to react, nor did he have time to dodge. Boom! It was only to hear a muffled explosion. The lightning that Lana transformed into, slammed viciously into God King High Wind's back with the swiftest and most berserk stance. That indestructible short sword also stabbed viciously into God King High Wind's back. The unparalleled berserk impact force sent him flying out, slamming into the ruins 10,000 feet away. He rolled several times in the ruins before stopping, blood spewing out of his nose and mouth. Poowork, the short sword was still stuck in his body. The blade pierced through his chest, the sword tip emerging from his chest. His heart was pierced, fresh blood gushing out uncontrollably. The heart-wrenching pain made him roar at the sky, letting out a shrill wail. Ah! You damn slut! Chapter 33-35. The moment he was stabbed by the dagger, Divine King Lingfeng noticed her. He was shocked and furious at the same time, his hatred overflowing to the heavens. A woman at the first level of the Divine King realm had severely injured him and almost destroyed his divine body. This was a great humiliation. Before this, he had never thought that such a thing would happen. Although, he could not accept this fact. However, he guessed the truth of the matter after thinking about it. That divine tribe girl must be Chao Qingyu's companion. She had been hiding in the dark, waiting for him to fight Chao Qingyu to reach the most critical moment before attacking and injuring him severely. That must be it. If he had not been restrained by Chao Qingyu and had let his guard down after fighting Chao Qingyu for so long, how could Lan have succeeded? Now, his enemies had become 2 divine kings. In addition, he was severely injured, his combat power greatly reduced. He was in a perilous situation. Therefore, Divine King Lingfeng retreated hundreds of miles away, glaring angrily at Chao Qingyu on his left and at Lan on his right. You shameless couple, you're really sinister and despicable. Lan expression was cold as she silently summoned the dagger to fly out of Divine King Lingfeng's body and back to her. Once the dagger was pulled out, a bloody hole appeared on Divine King Lingfeng's back. He spat out a mouthful of blood as his body trembled again. Chao Qingyu looked at Divine King Lingfeng indifferently and said in a low voice, How can there be so many rules and morals in a battlefield? You can only blame yourself for underestimating your enemy. Divine King Lingfeng was speechless, trembling with anger as his eyes glinted coldly. Despicable beasts, just you wait. If he continued to fight, it would only become more dangerous and his injuries would worsen. The only thing he could do now was to retreat and rendezvous with Region Lord Yunyang. Making up his mind, Divine King Lingfeng was about to turn and flee. However, a scene that made him even more shocked and incredulous appeared. Just as he turned, he saw a white-robed, long-haired human youth standing 5 steps in front of him. He focused his gaze and noticed that the white-robed young man was handsome and mighty, so who else could it be but the Region Lord Hu Che? At this moment, Divine King Towering Wind was frightened out of his wits, chills running down his spine. There was only one thought in his mind. Damn it! Wasn't he fighting with the Domain Lord? How did he appear behind me? Could it be that he had already killed the Region Master, and now he wants to kill me? This is impossible. As this thought flashed through his mind, God King High Wind released his spiritual perception to investigate the situation 30,000 miles away. In the sky 30,000 miles away, there were still 2 figures fighting fiercely. One of the silhouettes was exceptionally familiar, his attacks ferocious. It was Yunyang Region Lord, Jing Feihong. As for the other white figure, it was a human youth who had been retreating and dodging. That was also Domain Lord Tiger Che. From the looks of it, Region Lord Tiger Cleave was no match for Jing Feihong. He was being beaten back again and again, and it was difficult for him to resist. Such a bizarre situation left Divine King Towering Wind stupefied on the spot. How could this be? Why were there 2 Region Lord Hutch? Who can tell me what's going on? Divine King Towering Wind's thoughts were instantly thrown into disarray. And at this time, Domain Lord Tiger Che, who was 5 steps away, had long raised the sword of burial of heaven, stabbing over seemingly slowly but actually swiftly. Sword of daytime. An icy cold low cry also emitted from his mouth. The sword of burial of heaven that was pitch black like ink burst forth with boundless resplendent golden light, condensing into a pinprick the size of a needle, instantly piercing into Divine King Towering Wind's forehead. Swish! Following a soft sound. That pinprick of golden light that was condensed to the extreme pierced through Divine King Towering Wind's defense, piercing deeply into his head. In the next instant, that resplendent golden light suddenly erupted, like a golden mushroom cloud, exploding in the sky. Boom! An earth-shaking loud explosion erupted, reverberating throughout the universe. An apocalyptic shock wave spread out in all directions. However, under Ji Tianqing's precise control, the mushroom cloud only affected a radius of 100 miles, and no longer spread outwards. The result was without a doubt. Chao Qingyu and Lan'er were both unaffected. While Divine King Towering Wind's body exploded into smithereens on the spot, turning to ashes. Amidst the golden light that blotted out the sky and covered the sun, only 20 over pieces of colorful crystal fragments drifted down in a voluminous array. Ji Tianqing waved his hand and fired out several rays of golden light again, collecting all of the fragments into his bag. Looked like crystal fragments, but in reality, they were Divine King Towering Wind's divine spark fragments. On each piece of fragment, there were at least over a dozen law divine marks inscribed. An exalted third-degree realm Divine King expert turned to ashes just like this, falling on the spot. Chao Qingyu and Lan'er witnessed it with their own eyes, both revealing looks of horror and disbelief. That's the pinnacle of divine Tao, a divine king that all deities look up to. He fell just like this. How could he die so easily? Sir Tianqing just broke through to Divine King realm and annihilated Divine King Towering Wind so effortlessly. That was a third-degree realm lower Divine King. Furthermore, his strength foundation was very vigorous, not the slightest bit weaker than me. Just what kind of freak is Sir? How can he be terrifying to such an extent? Lan Er and Chao Qingyu's minds flashed past these thoughts at the same time. They were extremely horrified. Although before Ji Tianqing made his move, Divine King Towering Wind was already severely injured. But to a Divine King expert, heart injury and a substantial drop in strength would not have too big of an impact. A Divine King expert's recovery ability, the tenacity of life, was unbelievably powerful. But these were all useless in front of Ji Tianqing. Divine King Towering Wind still could not block one move from him. Horrifying. Monstrous. At the same time, the great battle 30,000 miles away also came to an abrupt end. That white-robed youth who looked exactly like Ji Tianqing retreated several hundred miles consecutively. After evading 50 over moves, he was finally cleaved into two halves by Jing Feihong's saber. Bang! Following a dull explosion, the white-robed youth exploded on the spot, splattering out hundreds of fragments. However, the fragments all over the sky all transformed into colorful divine lights, dissipating in the sky. No fresh blood splattered out, and there was also no miserable shriek. Jing Feihong was immediately stunned, holding the divine saber in a daze on the spot. Only all the way until the fragments all over the sky disappeared did he recover to his senses. Swoosh! He suddenly turned his head and released his divine sense to envelop Ji Tianqing, Chao Qingyu, and Lan Er, three people. After seeing the three people's location and situation clearly, he suddenly thought of something and immediately came to a realization. This king understands. It's a clone. This is his clone. That's right. Jing Feihong guessed correctly. The white-robed youth who was fighting with him earlier, constantly retreating and dodging, was not Ji Tianqing's true body. It was his clone. This was the trump card ultimate skill that he executed for the first time after recovering to the Divine King realm, Absolute Shadow Clone. As early as many years ago, he could already execute the 10-directional Absolute Shadow's divine ability. This was a pinnacle assassination art. But at that time, he could only manifest a few phantoms to numb the enemy. Only after recovering to the Divine King realm could he unleash the true power of the 10-directional Absolute Shadows. Either turning into 100 phantoms, or splitting out a few clones. The appearance and aura of the clones were no different from the main body at all. Even a middle-ranked Divine King like Jing Feihong could not differentiate the real from the fake in a hurry too. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 33-36. Presently, Ji Tianqing had just recovered to the Divine King realm. He could only conjure up one clone, at most 9 phantoms. Given time, his strength realm and foundation would become even more robust. He could even conjure up even more clones and phantoms. Just like back then, when he was a peak Divine King. Unleashing 10 directional Absolute Shadows at full power, he could conjure up 9 clones. Each clone had half of the main body's strength. As for phantoms, he could even conjure up to 10,000, blotting out the skies and covering the earth, with an astonishing commotion. His power alone was comparable to a magnificent army, sufficient to roam the galaxy unhindered. If he encountered a powerful opponent, he could even conjure up 9 clones, joining forces to besiege the opponent. It could be said to be invincible in the same realm. And now, it was Ji Tianqing's first battle after recovering to the Divine King realm. The first time he displayed Absolute Shadow Clone, he obtained an unexpected effect. Not only did he deceive Jing Feihong, he even one-shot the Towering Wind Divine King in one move. Under such circumstances, Jing Feihong was naturally terrified and filled with dread. After weighing the pros and cons for a moment, Jing Feihong very wisely chose to stop the battle. After all, Ji Tianqing's strength and methods were evenly matched with him. It was very hard to determine the victor. The Towering Wind Divine King was already killed. He became a loner, while Ji Tianqing had 2 Divine Kings helping him. Continuing to fight, he was bound to fall into a passive state, and his injuries would become increasingly severe, all the way until he was defeated by Ji Tianqing. Although Jing Feihong was very confident and proud, he was absolutely not reckless and foolish. As the lord of a region, he knew how to size up the situation and grasp when to advance and retreat better than anyone else. Brat, this king indeed underestimated you. I didn't expect that you even grasped this kind of divine ability, supreme skill. Our strength is evenly matched. Continuing to fight is also meaningless. Today's battle, consider it your win. But, this king will remember this score and make you pay back double sooner or later. Jing Feihong glared at Ji Tianqing with a sharp gaze, shouting angrily with an icy cold tone. He already memorized Ji Tianqing's appearance and aura firmly and absolutely would not forget. When the time was right, he would definitely take revenge. After throwing down these few sentences, Jing Feihong was about to turn around and leave. However, Ji Tianqing revealed a playful smile and asked in a mocking tone, "What? Stop fighting just like that? Didn't you say that this prince thought too highly of himself and wanted to take this prince's life? This is the Yunyang territory, your territory. Don't you feel ashamed running away with your tail between your legs? Once the news spreads, how are you going to rule the empires and intimidate the people of Yunyang region?" Although these words did not contain a single vulgar word, it was even more heart-wrenching, completely humiliating Jing Feihong. He was filled with shame and indignation. His face was red and his lungs were about to explode. However, he knew very well that Ji Tianqing was deliberately provoking him so that he could continue to fight. Damned beast, what a vicious heart. Not only did he kill Ling Feng, he also wanted to provoke this prince to fight again. Then, the three of them joined forces to kill me, wanting to kill me here. Damn it! These thoughts flashed through Jing Feihong's mind. He glared at Ji Tianqing with a venomous gaze before turning around and tearing the sky apart. Crack! A large spatial fissure was torn open in the sky as Jing Feihong stepped into it, his body glowing with white light. Even as he was about to leave, he did not forget to turn back to look at Ji Tianqing and hollered, "Child! This prince has not lost to you. It's just that you're cunning and sly, killing Ling Feng Divine King. Even if this prince leaves today, it won't affect this prince's reputation. This prince is still Region Lord Yunyang. Just you wait. The next time we meet, it will be the day of your death. Wash your neck and wait for your death." As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped into the spatial fissure without looking back and disappeared. Swoosh! The spatial fissure that was thousands of feet long was healing rapidly as well. The battle was over, and peace was restored between heaven and earth. Chao Qingyu and Lan Er flew to Ji Tianqing's side and looked up at the spatial fissure that was about to close. They asked in confusion, "Young master, why don't you go after Jing Feihong? Ling Feng Divine King has been killed by you. Jing Feihong is fighting alone. As long as we keep him, the three of us can definitely kill him if we join forces." Ji Tianqing slowly retracted the sword of burial of heaven, his gaze deep and his tone calm as he said, "Firstly, there's no deep hatred between us and Jing Feihong. There's no need to fight to the death. Secondly, Jing Feihong is an intermediate divine king after all, and he has the advantage of an imperial-level divine weapon. I don't have the confidence to defeat him now. Even if we force him to stay, the three of us can only severely injure him if we use all our strength. Once he's desperate and decides to escape, we still can't keep him. On the other hand, not only will we have to exhaust a lot of divine power, we'll also be severely injured. The loss outweighs the gain." After listening to his explanation, Chao Qingyu and Lan nodded to show that they understood. However, they did not know. In fact, there was a third reason that Ji Tianqing did not mention. Thirdly, Jing Feihong was Region Lord Yunyang after all. He had the right to meet the ruler of the boundless heaven continent, the Azura God Emperor. The Azura God Emperor was above the gods, looking down on the entire boundless heaven continent with the attitude of an absolute overlord. He would not personally manage this continent, nor would he show himself easily. This was because the hundreds of region lords were his most loyal subordinates, helping him manage this continent. However, once a region lord fell or was killed, it would definitely alarm the Azura God Emperor. If the Azura God Emperor pursued the matter, Ji Tianqing, Chao Qingyu and the rest would have nowhere to hide. Ji Tianqing had just recovered to the Divine King realm, his foundation was still shallow. He did not want to come into contact with the Azura God Emperor, much less be qualified to confront him head-on. Before he recovered to the pinnacle of the Divine King realm, he could only keep a low profile and endure as much as possible. This was the most crucial reason. In today's battle, I was able to successfully kill the Soaring Wind Divine King. Both of you have contributed greatly. Especially Lady Lan, your performance was outstanding and worthy of praise. Ji Tianqing looked at Chao Qingyu and Lan, praising them with a smile. The husband and wife quickly bowed and replied humbly, "Young master is too kind. We were only following your instructions." Ji Tianqing nodded and said, "In the future, we'll encounter even more God King powerhouses, and will experience even more dangerous battles. This is dangerous and challenging for you, but it is also an opportunity and training. Only in actual battles of life and death can you quickly improve your cultivation base and abilities." Chao Qingyu and Lan nodded, indicating that they had learned something. "All right, we should go." Ji Tianqing raised his hand, indicating that Chao Qingyu could leave. Chao Qingyu quickly summoned the divine warship and the three of them flew into it. Soon, Chao Qingyu steered the divine warship and flew across the sky, continuing to fly south. 100,000 miles away from here, at the entrance of Rakshasa Cave. The Rakshasa clan leader, high priest, and the rest detected that it was calm outside and guessed that the Divine King battle had already ended. Only then did they fly out carefully. Several powerhouses flew across the sky, crossing the vast ruins, wanting to fly south. Along the way, they released their divine senses to investigate the surrounding situation, searching for Ji Tianqing and Jing Feihong's figures. They wanted to know the result of the battle. Chapter 33-37. While searching the battlefield, the Rakshasa tribe and the others were feeling heavy-hearted. Today's incident was full of twists and turns, causing the Rakshasa tribe to suffer heavy losses. Not only were a large number of guards and deacons dead, but even a few elders were killed. These peak divine lords were also heavily injured by the aftermath of the Divine King's battle. In the end, they had even offended region leader Yunyang. Seeing the others' heavy mood and the depressing atmosphere, the high priest comforted them, "Don't worry, everyone. Although we've suffered heavy losses and won't be able to recover within 100 years, we still have some gains. At least, we've managed to get on the good side of region leader Tiger. That fellow's ability and methods aren't any weaker than region leader Yunyang's." The Rakshasa leader glanced at him and said in a low voice, "Relying on external forces isn't as good as relying on ourselves. The divine lords we've lost can't be replenished for at least 200 years. Besides, we've offended region leader Yunyang in this matter. Our future situation will be more difficult. Besides, that region leader Tiger's attitude is cold. He might not be reliable." The great guardian hurriedly nodded in agreement and said worriedly, "Previously, the third elder and his imperial guards followed the region lord and the holy maiden to protect and monitor them along the way. We didn't expect region leader Yunyang to kill them instantly in the battle between the two divine kings. Even if we find region leader Tiger, no one can follow him and the holy maiden in this situation." Hearing this, the other two guardians and the high priest were even more depressed, growing more worried and anxious. Unknowingly, they had flown over 100,000 miles of ruins and arrived at the end of the battlefield. They had to stop in the sky and look around, discussing with gloomy expressions. "Strange, the battle is over. Why don't I see them? I wonder who won and who lost. Could it be that region leader Tiger was defeated and fled here in a hurry, and region leader Yunyang went after him? That's very possible. Of course, it's also possible that Region Leader Yun Yang was defeated and Region Leader Tiger went after him. The 4 divine kings have disappeared. What should we do? Should we continue to search for Region Leader Tiger? Or should we return to Rakshasa Cave and wait patiently for 3 days? Everyone was talking at once, but they couldn't make up their minds and were at a loss of what to do. In the end, it was the Rakshasa leader who made the final decision. Based on the current situation, those god kings have definitely left. With our speed, it's impossible for us to catch up to them, let alone find them. Let's return to Rakshasa Cave first and appease our clansmen. I will also send a message to Region Ruler Yun Yang to sound him out and explain and apologize to him. Regardless of whether this is useful or not, and whether it can dispel his anger, we must show enough sincerity. The high priest, the great guardian, and the others naturally nodded in agreement and followed the patriarch back to Rakshasa Cave. The green jade divine warship sped through the sky like a bolt of lightning, heading south. Inside the divine battleship, Ji Tianqing stood in the middle of the hall and looked at Lin Shui, who was pacing back and forth anxiously. His lips curled into a smile. What? Are you worried that we can't defeat Territorial Lord Yun Yang? Hearing the voice, Shui Lin stopped and turned to look at Ji Tianqing. Seeing that he and Lana were both safe and sound, Shui Lin's hanging heart finally settled back into her stomach, revealing a gratified smile. It's great that you're all right. Tianqing, are you hurt? Is it serious? Seeing Ji Tianqing's messy hair and golden bloodstains on his white robe, Lin Shui Lin hurriedly asked. Shui Lin asked with concern. She quickly walked towards Ji Tianqing, wanting to check on his injuries. Lan retreated sensibly and said, "You guys talk, I'll go back to the secret chamber to heal myself." This was an excuse. She had only struck once after joining the battle and was not injured at all. How could she heal herself? She did not want to stay in the hall and wanted to give Ji Tianqing and Lin Shui a chance to be alone. She then left the hall in a flash and hid in the secret chamber 2 breaths later. The hall quieted down, leaving only Ji Tianqing and Lin Shui. Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and said with a chuckle, "It's only a superficial wound, you don't have to worry. With my ability and skills, Jing Feihong can't do anything to me." Lin Shui stopped 5 steps away from him, the worry in her heart dissipating. Seeing that he was proud and arrogant as usual, Lin Shui pursed her lips and said impatiently, "I know you've just broken through to the Divine King realm and your ability has increased tremendously. But you're a first-level Divine King while Region Leader Yun Yang is a middle Divine King after all. If anything happens to you, all of us will be worried." Ji Tianqing frowned and said with a strange expression, "TSK, TSK, TSK. What's wrong with you today? Why have you suddenly changed and are so concerned about me? Let me tell you. Previously in Rakshasa Cave, I pretended to be Region Leader Hu Che and said that I wanted to marry you in public. That was just a temporary measure." Before he could finish, Lin Shui interrupted him and said solemnly, "I know all this. Don't worry, I won't take it seriously. Moreover, you're so average-looking, narcissistic, and so arrogant. I won't be tempted by you. I'm just grateful that you came to Rakshasa Cave to save me. I'm afraid that you'll get hurt because of me. I'll feel guilty if that happens. I don't want to owe you a favor." Ji Tianqing heaved a sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. I'm relieved that you think so." Lin Shui glared at him angrily, her brows furrowed. Ji Tianqing thought of something and changed the topic, saying, "Initially, if Jing Feihong didn't appear, I could still take Luo Xia and the group of Imperial Guard marshals with me. When we leave Rakshasa Cave, Luo Xia and the rest will be at our mercy. You can also slowly torture and kill Luo Xia to appease the hatred in your heart. It's a pity that Jing Feihong was ruthless and accidentally injured Luo Xia and the Imperial Guard marshals, killing them instantly." Lin Shui nodded and said calmly, "It's indeed a pity. However, it's already happened. Luo Xie has been reduced to ashes. My parents' revenge has been avenged. Ji Tianxing comforted her, the dead are gone, the living still have to be strong. You have to let go of this slowly. Actually, there was no need for him to comfort her. Lin Xue's emotions had already calmed down. After he finished, Lin Xue nodded to show that she understood, saying, "Okay, you fought a few battles. Not only are you injured, you must be tired. Quickly go and adjust your breathing." Ji Tianxing took a deep look at her, then said goodbye. Lin Xue watched him enter the secret chamber and stood there for a moment before turning to leave. Although she looked calm on the surface, her heart was heavy and complicated. She had already gotten the answer to her mother's background and experience in Rakshasa Cave. However, her father Lin Wufa's background and experiences were still unclear. Especially, what did Lin Wufa do in the Dharma sect? Why did he still bear the name of a traitor who betrayed his master? All these weighed on Lin Xue's heart, causing her to feel depressed. Chapter 33-38. The secret chamber was dimly lit and empty. There was only a pitch-black divine pagoda half a foot tall hovering in the air. Ji Tianxing had already entered the divine pagoda and returned to the distorted space and time. Swoosh! He flew through the colorful distorted space and landed under the crimson flame sacred tree. Yun Yao, Ji Ku, Bai Long, and the others were still focused on cultivating, desperately improving their strength. They had yet to fully refine the terrifying divine power he had released when he broke through to the Divine King realm. Ji Tianxing went to check on Divine King Yank. Yank was still sitting under the crimson flame sacred tree, still cultivating and healing. Only 2 months had passed in the outside world, but he had already cultivated under the sacred tree for more than 8 years. His divine body's injuries were basically healed, only his soul's injuries still needed to be treated. Ji Tianxing reckoned that if he went into seclusion to recuperate for a few more years, he should be fine. When that time came, he would let Yank follow him. With Yank and Chao Qingyu by his side, he basically did not have to act personally no matter what trouble he encountered. Moreover, how cool would it be to have 2 divine kings as guards? At least in the boundless heaven continent, this was an extremely shocking force. After checking on Yank's situation, Ji Tianxing sat under the sacred tree and began to count his spoils of war. He had killed many Rakshasa divine lords in the previous battle. However, due to his identity and face, he would not pick up the divine lord's divine personas and spatial rings. The real reward was that he had obtained Divine King Lingfeng's divine persona and spatial ring after killing him instantly. After all, he had recovered to the Divine King realm. Only the divine personas of Divine King experts, as well as monarch-level divine weapons, treasures, and resources, could pique his interest. Ji Tianxing first took out Divine King Lingfeng's red spatial ring and checked the items inside. The result made his brows relax and he was in a good mood. As Jing Feihong's assistant, God King Lingfeng managed Cloud Yang territory on behalf of Jing Feihong. Naturally, he had reaped countless benefits. Inside the dark red spatial ring, all sorts of cultivation resources and treasures were piled up into a mountain. Countless divine stones, gems, and monarch-grade materials were piled up into mountains. There were also all kinds of oddly shaped, nameless, and unknown treasures piled up into a small hill hundreds of meters high. In addition, there were also a few exquisite treasure boxes that contained several pieces of king-grade materials. Unfortunately, those materials were used to refine pills and craft talismans, and they weren't used to refine equipment. But to Ji Tianxing, this was still a huge fortune, which made him happy. He roughly estimated that the resources, treasures, and materials stored in the ring were worth more than 120 billion god stones. This was the majority of the High Wind Divine King's wealth. To a lower Divine King who had controlled Cloud Yang region for 10,000 years, this was a normal situation. Ji Tianqing transferred all the resources and treasures in the ring into his own interspatial ring. The king-grade materials for refining pills and crafting talismans were kept carefully by him for safekeeping. After checking the spoils, Ji Tianqing took out more than 20 pieces of Godhead fragments and began to refine them. After careful observation, he discovered that God King Lingfeng's Godhead fragments had fused more than 360 divine Tao laws. This result was within his expectations and was not unexpected. The vast majority of lesser godly kings have grasped more than 200 to 400 types of divine Tao laws. Someone like God King Lingfeng, who has reached the third level of the Divine King realm and mastered more than 360 types of divine Tao laws, can be considered above average. I reckon that the number of divine Tao laws Chao Qingyu has mastered is about the same as this guy. These thoughts flashed through Ji Tianqing's mind, and he could not help guessing, before I recovered to the Divine King realm, I already mastered 310 types of divine Tao laws. Now that I've refined God King Lingfeng's Godhead fragments, I wonder how many divine Tao laws I can master. But one thing was certain. When he was at the first level of the Divine King realm, the number of divine Tao laws he had mastered would surpass God King Lingfeng. When he reached the third level of the Divine King realm, the number of divine Tao laws he had mastered would definitely surpass Region Lord Yunyang, Jing Feihong. When he became a higher divine king in the future, the number of divine Tao laws he had mastered would definitely surpass his previous life, breaking through the 1,000 mark. Before long, Ji Tianqing held his breath and focused, beginning to cultivate and devour the Godhead fragments. As time passed, the Godhead fragments surged with boundless divine power, entering his body like a trickle. Divine patterns of divine Tao laws also gradually peeled off and disappeared from the fragments. Time passed quickly. Unknowingly, more than 6 months had passed. God King Lingfeng's Godhead fragments had all been refined by Ji Tianqing. This allowed his strength to increase greatly, and his divine Tao foundation became more stable. The biggest gain was that Ji Tianqing had seized 30 divine Tao laws from God King Lingfeng's 300 over divine patterns of divine Tao laws and successfully refined them. At this point, the number of divine Tao laws Ji Tianqing had mastered had reached an astonishing 340 divine Tao laws. It was natural. His strength had also risen along with the tide, increasing by about 50% compared to before. If he were to meet Jing Feihong again now, he had more than enough confidence to defeat him. However, it was still impossible to severely injure and kill Jing Feihong. After all, the Sword of Burial of Heaven had not recovered to King grade. After ending his cultivation, Ji Tianqing thought to himself, now that I've recovered to the Divine King realm, I should also look for King grade materials for weapon refinement and try to restore the Sword of Burial of Heaven to King grade. Otherwise, I'll still be at a disadvantage when I meet those intermediate divine kings again. The Sword of Burial of Heaven will always be a burden. After making up his mind, Ji Tianqing left the distorted space and returned to the secret chamber. He planned to find Chao Qingyu and ask where he could find king-grade materials for weapon refinement. After all, Chao Qingyu was more familiar with the boundless heaven continent and the surrounding regions of Tianbei region. More than half a year had passed in the distorted space and time, but only 4 days had passed in the outside world. Ji Tianqing stepped into the cockpit of the divine warship and saw Chao Qingyu operating the divine warship while adjusting his breathing. Although he had to operate the divine warship and could not cultivate in seclusion, he was not idle. However, he didn't stay idle either, not willing to waste time, still nurturing his divine Tao foundation. Seeing Ji Tianqing arrive, Chao Qingyu hurriedly stood up and bowed. Ji Tianqing waved his hand, indicating that he did not need to be so polite. He went straight to the point and asked, Qingyu, I plan to look for some king-grade materials for weapon refinement to forge a king-grade divine weapon. You're more familiar with the nearby areas. Do you have any recommended secret realms or forbidden areas? Chao Qingyu thought for a moment and revealed a troubled expression. He said, Young master, king-grade materials for weapon refinement and alchemy have always been something that can only be encountered by chance. Although I know a few places where king-grade materials have appeared before, that was 10,000 years ago. I'm not sure what the situation is now. This kind of thing can only depend on fate and luck. Perhaps it will not be long before king-grade materials appear in the world. Ji Tianqing was already mentally prepared and was not surprised. He could only nod and say, "All right, let nature take its course." Chapter 33-39. Chao Qingyu continued to pilot the divine warship. Ji Tianqing left the cockpit and entered the hull. If there was nothing else, he planned to return to the secret chamber and enter the Nine Heavens 10 Absolutes Tower to continue cultivating. However, as soon as he walked into the hall, he saw a graceful purple figure standing by the window in the corner, looking at the sea of clouds flying outside the divine warship. That extremely charming and bewitching figure was Lin Shui. Ever since she awakened the Rakshasa bloodline and her appearance changed, her entire temperament also changed greatly. The current her preferred blood red and purple dresses, and her aura was even more bewitching. Of course. At this time, she was in a daze, quietly looking at the sea of clouds outside the window. No one knew what she was thinking. Cough cough, Ji Tianqing pretended to cough twice and walked toward Lin Shui. He opened his mouth and asked, "It's such a good season, why are you in a daze here instead of going into closed-door cultivation?" Lin Shui was immediately startled awake and turned her head to look at Ji Tianqing. She hurriedly collected her thoughts and her expression returned to normal. She said in a calm tone, Nothing, it's just that I cultivated for too long previously and wanted to come out for a breather." Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "I guess you must have just awakened the Rakshasa bloodline and just reached the 9th level Divine Lord realm. Even if you want to go into closed-door cultivation, you don't have a suitable cultivation method or divine ability, right?" Lin Shui was stunned for a moment and nodded, saying, "Indeed, the Rakshasa clan leader and the high priest did not teach me any cultivation method. Unfortunately, we're already far away from the Rakshasa cave and can't go back to ask them for cultivation methods." Ji Tianqing's smile became even more playful. He waved his hand and said, "If you really want to go into closed-door cultivation, why do you need to ask them for cultivation methods? You can ask me. As long as it's the Rakshasa race's top cultivation methods and divine abilities, I have all of them here. At least 1,000 divine abilities and consummate skills, you can choose at will, enough for you to cultivate for thousands of years." Shui Lin furrowed her brows and chuckled, "That's enough. I know you're knowledgeable and have a good memory. However, the Rakshasa race's top cultivation methods and divine abilities are the Rakshasa race's most precious treasures and secrets. It's already good enough that you have some understanding of it. How could you possibly know everything? Even if you're bragging, you can't be so far-fetched, right?" Ji Tianqing raised his chin and chuckled. "What? You don't believe me, right? Why don't we make a bet? If I can give you the Rakshas's top cultivation method and divine ability, you will cultivate in seclusion and try your best to break through to the God-King realm. Let go of your grudges as soon as possible and stop letting your imagination run wild. What do you think?" "This." Shui Lin hesitated and said with a complicated expression, "You know you will lose for sure. What will you do if you lose?" "Ha ha ha. If I lose, I'll be at your beck and call." Ji Tianqing laughed confidently and said in a mocking tone, "However, how can I lose?" Seeing him so confident, Shui Lin was a little shaken. She suddenly thought of a possibility and couldn't help but ask, "Previously, you hid in Rakshasa cave for more than 20 days. During that time, I was awakening my bloodline in the blood pool. The two of you couldn't have snuck into the Rakshasa's treasure vault and stolen their divine ability secret manuals, right?" Ji Tianqing pursed his lips and said, "TSK. I don't care about those cultivation methods and divine abilities of the Rakshasa race at all. Why would I waste time to steal? Besides, the reason why I took away those cultivation methods and secret manuals was so that you wouldn't have to worry about them. I was helping the Rakshasa race so that their cultivation methods and divine abilities could be passed down and brought to glory in your hands. How can this kind of act of doing a good deed without leaving a name be called stealing? Shui Lin could not help but roll her eyes and pursed her lips. At the end of the day, isn't it still stealing? I guessed it right. The Rakshasa race was unlucky to have met you and suffered heavy losses. After a moment of silence, she still bowed to Ji Tianqing and said in a sincere tone, "No matter what, you did this for me. Thank you. I'll remember this favor and double it in the future." Without waiting for her to finish, Ji Tianqing waved his hand and interrupted her. He took out a large pile of jade slips from his interspatial ring and threw them to Shui Lin. Walala, a total of more than 2,100 jade slips all flew in front of Shui Lin and piled up together, emitting a dazzling divine light. These jade slips were old and new, and the materials were also different. However, from the aura fluctuations emitted by the many jade slips, Shui Lin knew that they were not ordinary items. She casually picked up a few jade slips and used her divine sense to permeate into them and did a simple check. Immediately, she revealed a look of deep surprise. These are actually all king-level cultivation methods and divine abilities. The Rakshasa race actually has so many king-level cultivation methods and secret manuals. Tianqing, you emptied the Rakshasa race's treasure vault. Ji Tianqing shook his head and said with a chuckle, "Of these 2,100 plus cultivation methods and divine ability secret manuals, half of them are top-notch monarch cultivation methods and the other half are king-level cultivation methods. These are the painstaking efforts of the Rakshasa race's powerhouses, covering tens of thousands of years of cultivation methods and ultimate skills. You don't have to cultivate all of them, just pick some that are suitable for you and of a higher level to cultivate." Shui Lin was filled with excitement as she nodded quickly, "I understand. Thank you so much. With so many cultivation methods and secret manuals, why should I worry about not breaking through to the Divine King realm? Now that a few days have passed, the Rakshasa race should have realized that their treasure vault has been robbed and these jade slips have been lost, right? I wonder how the Rakshasa clan leader and the high priest are feeling right now." After a while, Shui Lin kept all 2,100 jade slips, leaving them for later study. Ji Tianqing was silent for a moment before he asked again, "We're now in the Chuyun Empire's territory. We'll leave the Yunyang region if we fly south for another 3 days. If I remember correctly, the Dharma sect is in the Chuyun Empire's territory, isn't it?" Shui Lin was stunned, asking with a complicated expression, "Why did you suddenly think of talking about this?" Ji Tianqing glanced at her and said earnestly, "Although the Rakshasa caves matter has been settled and the truth of your mother, Sha Yanzi's background and experience has been revealed, there's still some regret in your heart. But you still have some regrets in your heart. You still have a thorn in your heart. It's because of this that you've been feeling uneasy these days, unable to calm down and cultivate. That's why you're standing by the window, staring at the sea of clouds in a daze, isn't it? You." Shui Lin turned to look at him, her emotions growing more complicated. She wanted to say something but did not know where to start. Ji Tianqing continued, "Actually, you really want to go to the Dharma sect to investigate the truth of what happened back then and clear your father's name. This is your personal matter, you don't want to trouble me and Chao Qingyu and delay our time. However, with what happened before, you don't dare to leave without saying goodbye like last time. You're afraid that it'll be like last time, or we'll have to save you when you're in danger. That's why you've been standing by the window for so long without making up your mind, isn't it?" Chapter 3340. Are you a worm in her stomach? You know her mind so well. Do you know that people like you who can read people's minds are sometimes very annoying? Lin Shui was a little touched, but she didn't want to admit it. She even rolled her eyes at Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing didn't take it seriously and continued, I know even if you don't say it. In your current state, you won't be able to calm down and cultivate without 10 days or half a month. In that case, we might as well solve the mystery and end this matter completely. Anyway, we're already in the Chu-Yun Empire not far from the Dharma sect. How about it? This. Lin Shui was a little hesitant and couldn't make up her mind. Although Ji Tianqing was right and she also agreed with Ji Tianqing's suggestion. But she was still a little worried and blamed herself. She thought to herself, I left without saying goodbye before and was in danger. I've already been delayed for a month and even put Tianqing in danger. Although he's willing to help me, I have no complaints. But I can't take his kindness for granted and delay his trip again and again. It's just that, my father still bears the name of a traitor who betrayed his master and ancestors. If I don't solve the mystery and clear my father's name, how can I leave with peace of mind? Do I have to leave without saying goodbye to Tianqing again like last time? No. He's already aware of my intentions. Once I do that, he'll be the first to find out. I can make a mistake once, but I can't make a mistake a second time. Otherwise, I'll be stupid. What should I do? Lin Shui was very conflicted. Ji Tianqing saw that she was silent and conflicted. He guessed her thoughts and asked, Are you afraid of delaying my trip? You want to go to the Dharma sect to investigate the truth, but you don't want to drag me down, so you want to leave without saying goodbye. But you also feel that it's too stupid to do such a stupid thing after just a few days. So, you still can't make up your mind? Hearing this, Lin Shui's body shook. She glared at him and muttered, You're getting more and more annoying. Is it that easy to see through my thoughts? Ji Tianqing nodded seriously. He pointed at her face and said, Isn't it written all over your face? Humph. Shui Lin snorted angrily. Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and said calmly, All right, this matter is settled. Anyway, it won't take long. How can you leave with a clear conscience if you don't completely solve your problem? After that, he turned around and left the hall to inform Chao Qingyu. Chao Qingyu was more familiar with Tianbei region and Yunyang region, so he naturally knew where the Dharma sect was located. After all, the Dharma sect was one of the top forces in the Yunyang region and had been around for more than 20,000 years. Shui Lin was still hesitant and wanted to say something. However, Ji Tianqing's attitude was so firm and resolute that he didn't give her any chance to hesitate. She looked at Ji Tianqing's departing figure and could only swallow her words. A warm current flowed through her heart as she murmured to herself, Tianqing, thank you. Perhaps you're the one who understands me the most in this world. After a while, the Emerald Divine Worship changed its direction. Originally, the Emerald Divine Worship was going to pass through the southwest of the Empire of Chu-Yun and leave the empire within a day. However, after the change of direction, the worship flew towards the center of the Empire of Chu-Yun, heading straight for Feynman Mountain. Feynman Mountain was located in the center of the Empire of Chu-Yun. It was surrounded by mountains and lakes for millions of miles, rich in divine power and resources. The Endless Mountain Range was one of the Empire of Chu-Yun's forbidden grounds. There were endless cultivation resources, but there were also countless beasts, mystical beasts, and divine beasts. There were also all kinds of hidden dangers. Without the ability of a divine lord, one would not dare to enter the area. There was a high chance that one would not return. Therefore, the Dharma sect was located in the depths of the mountain range, occupying Feynman Mountain that was 10,000 meters tall. It was truly an otherworldly sect. The sect's disciples had an endless supply of cultivation resources, as well as various training grounds and secluded secret realms. In addition to the sect's inherited skills, as well as the guidance of master experts, the Dharma sect was naturally filled with talents. Although the Dharma sect was hidden deep in the mountains and forests, its disciples rarely came out. However, the Dharma sect had subdued dozens of second-rate forces and controlled the lifelines of dozens of divine nations. It had an enormous influence and intelligence network. In the entire Yunyang region, the Dharma sect's strength could be ranked in the top 5. It was an overlord that no expert dared to offend. A few hours later, the sun was setting in the west. The millions of miles of mountain range were shrouded in the dim yellow sunlight, making it look hazy. Swoosh! The emerald divine warship tore through the sky like a bolt of green lightning, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Not long after, the divine warship arrived in the depths of the mountain range and gradually slowed down. Under the hazy sunset ahead, a giant mountain that was 3,000 feet tall and half hidden in the sea of clouds appeared. It was surrounded by thousands of feet tall mountains that were covered in dark green forests, making the peak particularly eye-catching. In the cockpit of the divine warship, Chao Qingyu was steering the divine warship while Ji Tianqing and Lin Shui stood behind him. Young master, the peak in front is Feynman Mountain. The Dharma sect is on the peak. From what I know, the Dharma sect's influence is profound. It controls dozens of forces and secretly controls the fate of dozens of divine nations. Even in the headquarters of Feynman Mountain, there are tens of thousands of disciples and servants. It can be said that experts are as common as the clouds. Chao Qingyu briefly introduced the Dharma sect situation. In fact, he and Ji Tianqing did not take it to heart. Lin Shui, however, frowned. She was obviously nervous and thinking about something. Ji Tianqing glanced at her and asked, "We're about to reach the Dharma sect. The truth you want will be revealed soon. What are you thinking about?" Lin Shui quickly collected her thoughts and said in a low voice, "Since we're here, we must find the answer successfully. We can't go back empty-handed and waste your time." Ji Tianqing nodded and said, "Of course." Lin Shui continued, "So, we can't be reckless. We must act cautiously and think of a detailed plan first. It's best if we have 2 or 3 backup plans. Then, we can discuss when and under what circumstances to implement it and how to cooperate." Obviously, Lin Shui was very careful about this matter. However, Ji Tianqing waved his hand and interrupted her. He smiled and said, "Okay, don't think about it so complicated. This matter is very simple. Don't think about any plan. We'll go with you and get the answer soon." "Ah." Lin Shui was stunned and said with a startled face, "You're going with me? You're going to swagger into the Dharma sect's mountain gate like this?" Ji Tianqing just smiled and did not answer. At this time, the divine warship had landed on the peak of Feynman Mountain and landed openly outside the mountain gate. Chapter 33-41. The peak of Dharma Gate Mountain was a flat land with a radius of 100 miles. On this man-made flat land, there were hundreds of palaces of various sizes. They were all magnificent and dignified. Even the mountain gate of the Dharma sect was 100 feet tall. It was majestic and dignified, exuding the vicissitude aura of a top sect. More than 30 young disciples in gray robes and Dao crowns were divided into 2 teams. They guarded the mountain gate with solemn expressions. These young disciples were all above the 7th level of the celestial god realm. However, they were only the elites of the outer sect disciples. Only they were qualified to guard the mountain gate in turn. Only genius disciples who had broken through to the Divine Lord realm were qualified to enter the inner sect and receive personal guidance from the sect elders. There were only 6 or 7 middle-level Divine Lord disciples. They were the most outstanding young prodigies of the Dharma sect. Swoosh! With a flash of divine light, the green jade divine warship disappeared. Ji Tianqing, Chao Qingyu, and Lin Shui appeared at the mountain gate of the Dharma sect. The mountain gate was originally quiet. Apart from the disciples guarding the mountain gate, there was no one else. The sudden appearance of Ji Tianqing and the other two broke the silence and attracted the attention of many disciples. A tall and handsome young divine race member walked out of the team on the left. He carried a sword on his back and walked quickly to the mountain gate. After sizing up Ji Tianqing and the other two, he cupped his fists and bowed. He asked, "May I ask where you three seniors are from? What business do you have with our sect?" It was obvious. This young divine race member had good eyesight. Seeing that Ji Tianqing and the other two had an extraordinary bearing and unfathomable aura, he knew that they were three experts. He saw that Ji Tianqing stood in front with Lin Shui beside him. Chao Qingyu followed behind. He could guess that Ji Tianqing was the leader of the three and had the most distinguished status. The older and seemingly ordinary Chao Qingyu was Ji Tianqing's guard. Faced with the young divine race member's polite question, Lin Shui was a little hesitant. What identity should she use to deal with him? She had thought of several plans before, but she did not expect Ji Tianqing to be so straightforward and swagger to the mountain gate. This caught her off guard and she did not know how to deal with him. Unexpectedly. Without waiting for Lin Shui to reply, Ji Tianqing's expression was indifferent as he replied calmly, "Go and report to your sect leader that Lin Wufa's daughter, Lin Shui, has come to visit today." "All right, please wait for a moment, senior." The young god maintained a respectful smile. After bowing, he turned around and was about to report. However, just as he turned around, he suddenly thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. "Lin Shui. Meet sect leader. Lin Wufa's daughter. Lin Wufa. Weren't they the ones who betrayed their masters and killed their ancestors?" Lin Shui of the sect gate of the Divine Lord Shui. He slowly turned around, and when he looked at Ji Tianqing and Shui Lin again, his eyes became cold and serious. He stared at Ji Tianqing and asked in a serious tone, "Are you serious? Is the person beside you really Lin Wufa's daughter?" Ji Tianqing said with an indifferent expression, "It's absolutely true. Don't waste time, go and report the news." Lin Shui was completely speechless. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. She thought to herself, "You are too rude and straightforward, aren't you? You directly said my father's name. Isn't this clearly showing that you are here to take revenge? Great, now that we can't get the truth, a fierce battle is unavoidable." As expected. The young divine race member nodded and said coldly, "If that's the case, then there's nothing more to say. Men, take these three villains down." Following the order of the young god, more than 30 young disciples under the mountain gate took out their divine weapons and rushed over as fast as lightning. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the blink of an eye, more than 30 young disciples spread out and surrounded Ji Tianqing and the other two. Without waiting for the young divine race member to give the order, the crowd joined forces and used their ultimate skills to besiege Ji Tianqing and the other two. They cooperated very well and were very familiar with the moves. The power of their combined attack was not to be underestimated. However, it was useless. Ji Tianqing and Lin Shui looked at the crowd coldly and had no intention of helping. Chao Qingyu was also indifferent. His aura was as calm as an ancient well, and he seemed very ordinary. It was only when the light of the divine skills was about to engulf the three of them that Chao Qingyu raised his eyelids. An invisible divine power burst out from his body and spread out like a shockwave. Bang! Bang bang bang! With a series of muffled sounds, more than 30 young disciples were sent flying and vomiting blood. They landed 1,000 feet away. Half of the Dharma Gate mountain shook. The towering mountain range also shook violently for a long time. Fortunately, Chao Qingyu was merciful. The young disciples fell to the ground. Most of them were unconscious but not dead. A small number of disciples who were still conscious also lost their fighting strength and let out painful groans. There were also people who cried out in alarm, roaring and shouting in anger. "Someone come quickly! Someone is trespassing!" Someone come quickly and stop these 3 evildoers. Just as the young disciples were shouting, divine lights lit up in several palaces inside the mountain. At least 20 beams of dazzling divine light converged from all directions and landed at the foot of the mountain gate as fast as lightning. These were over 20 divine Lord realm powerhouses. There were blue-robed inner court disciples, white-robed elite prides of heaven, and even several black-robed deacons. Among them, the ones with the highest status were 2 elders in purple robes. These 2 elders were in charge of the external affairs and punishment of the Dharma sect. They were usually busy and rarely had the chance to cultivate in seclusion. They were dealing with sect affairs just now and rushed over when they heard the commotion. The leader of the group was the punishment elder. He was an old man with a white beard. When he arrived at the mountain gate, he asked in a dignified tone, "What's going on? Who is trespassing?" A young disciple guarding the gate quickly answered, "Punishment elder, that woman is the daughter of the traitor, Lin Wufa. She brought 2 accomplices and came to seek revenge. She said she wants to see the sect leader." Hearing this, not only did the expressions of the punishment elder and the external affairs elder change drastically, even the many divine lord experts were stunned. After regaining their senses, they all showed expressions of righteous indignation and cursed angrily. Lin Wufa? That traitorous bastard who betrayed his master and ancestors. Lin Wufa's daughter dares to come to our sect for revenge. Is she crazy? That damned Lin Wufa. It's already a pity that he didn't die under our sect's punishment. Since his daughter came to seek revenge, we should capture her and kill her as a warning to others. Chapter 33-42. Ji Tianxing and the other 2 had just reached the foot of the mountain gate when they were surrounded by more than 20 Sir Gods. The leaders were the sentencing elder and the external affairs elder. There were more than a dozen inner disciples in green robes, 3 elite disciples in white robes, and 6 deacons in black robes. The crowd was indignant as they discussed. They took out their divine weapons and pointed them at Ji Tianxing and the other 2 with murderous intent. Especially toward Xue Lin, everyone's eyes were filled with hatred. Seeing this, Ji Tianxing looked at the 2 elders indifferently and said in a low voice, "We are here to find the sect master and ask him about the situation. If you know what's good for you, get out of the way." The external affairs elder frowned and said in an unfriendly tone, "Boy, who do you think you are? Do you think you are worthy to meet our sect master? Lin Wufa is a traitor to our sect, a scum who betrayed his sect. Since you are following his daughter, you are not a good person either." The sentencing elder stroked his white beard and said arrogantly, "Boy, you injured our disciples just now. Weren't you very arrogant and domineering? Now you want to explain your intentions and admit defeat to our sect. Let me tell you, it's too late. If you don't want to die, surrender obediently and wait for our sect to deal with you." After that, the sentencing elder waved his sleeves and ordered the Sir Gods, "Let's go together and take them down." "Yes, sir." Many disciples, elites, and deacons said in unison. Everyone waved their swords and used all kinds of divine powers to besiege Ji Tianxing and the other 2. Swoosh! Swoosh! Hundreds of multicolored sword and saber lights poured down like a rainstorm, drowning the figures of Ji Tianxing and the other 2. "You don't know what's good for you." At this critical moment, Ji Tianxing still had no intention of making a move. He shouted in a low voice with no expression on his face. The next moment, Chao Qingyu abruptly raised both of his hands. His palms separated and crossed as he released a vast amount of divine power. More than 20 gigantic golden palms shot out in all directions. Bang! Bang 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 bang! A series of muffled sounds exploded, reverberating endlessly between heaven and earth. The various divine skills cast by more than 20 divine lords were immediately shattered by the giant golden palm. Fragments of divine light that blotted out the sky burst forth. The destructive shockwave also spread out in all directions, engulfing everything within a radius of 10,000 feet. None of the 20-odd Sir gods were able to withstand the strike of the golden palm. All of them were sent flying backward with blood spewing out of their 7 orifices. The weaker inner court disciples only had the strength of a low-level divine lord. Their injuries were the most wretched. They all fell 1,000 feet away. Their faces were covered in blood, and they were dizzy. They had almost lost their ability to fight. The middle-level Divine Lord elite disciples and deacons had slightly lighter injuries, but they were still spewing blood from their noses and mouths, their divine power in chaos. Only the 2 upper Divine Lord level elders suffered slightly lighter injuries. However, they were also sent flying several hundred meters away. Their faces were covered in dust, and they looked extremely miserable. When the dust and divine light dissipated, everyone could clearly see the scene in front of them. Immediately, they let out cries of astonishment. "Oh my God! How could this be? Am I seeing things? Or am I seeing things? The 2 elders and deacons are actually. How is this possible? This is not good. A strong enemy has invaded. Quick, inform the other elders." The disciples who were still conscious exclaimed in disbelief as they fled into the mountain gate. Someone sent out a distress signal, someone sounded the alarm, and someone flew towards the main hall. Ji Tianqing's cold gaze swept across the 2 elders and the scattered Sir God experts. He then walked towards the mountain gate. Behind the mountain gate was a wide square that occupied a radius of 10 miles. On the other side of the square was a lofty palace, and on both sides were houses. Seeing Ji Tianqing and the other 2 stepping into the square, the elder in punishments and external affairs did not have time to treat their injuries. They hurriedly led a few deacons and genius disciples who could still fight to block their path. "Thief, don't even think about barging into our sect. Be ****, don't be so arrogant. Even if we are no match for you, we will not yield." The 2 elders roared angrily as they took out their life-divine weapons and charged forward again. They had been careless previously. This time, they knew how powerful Chao Qingyu was, so they used all their divine skills. Scorching sun slash. Shocking storm. As the 2 elders roared, they released their divine skills that could destroy heaven and earth as they charged towards Ji Tianqing and the other 2. The few deacons and elite disciples in black robes also regrouped and used their divine skills, filling the sky with divine skill light shadows. In an instant, the entire square was enveloped by the divine light of 5 colors, making it dazzling. Ji Tianqing and the other 2 were unmoved. They were still calm and collected. Stubborn. Chao Qingyu furrowed her brows as she coldly shouted. This time, when he raised his hands to use his divine skill, he used 50% of his strength. When his palms changed and overlapped, a mysterious divine seal was formed and released a terrifying power that could suppress heaven and earth. 9 green fist radiances the size of water tanks were condensed and blasted towards the 2 elders, the 7 deacons, and the elite disciples. Boom! 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 Another series of earth-shattering explosions shook the entire Dharma Gate mountain violently. Such a shocking commotion naturally alarmed everyone in the Dharma sect. The fate of the sentencing elder, the external affairs elder, the deacons, and the elite disciples was self-evident. They were sent flying by the fist radiances and tumbled tens of thousands of feet away. While they were still in mid-air, they were bleeding from their 7 orifices. They were severely injured and their consciousness was blurry. Plop! Plop! The deacons and the elite disciples fell into the ruins, causing dust to fill the air. However, they were unconscious and did not move. The 2 elders tried their best to stay conscious, but they kept vomiting blood and groaning in pain. They could not continue to fight. This result caused the 2 of them to be incomparably shocked and even feel despair. The two elders looked at each other and saw the fear and worry in each other's eyes. Damn it! We didn't even see how that guy attacked and we were already severely injured. It's too scary. That guy just casually attacked and more than 20 of us were severely injured. Just what level has his strength reached? The scariest thing is that the green-robed guard killed us all. Lin Wufa's daughter and the white-robed young man have not even made a move yet. How strong are they? It seems that not only do we need to alert all the elders and deacons, even the sect leader and the vice-sect leader have to come out. Otherwise, no one can stop them. The two elders communicated with each other using their divine sense. While they were shocked and worried, they did not forget to call out to the other elders and deacons. Ji Tianqing, Lin Shui, and Chao Qingyu crossed the square and walked to the middle of the square. The number of guards, disciples, and deacons who heard the news had reached thousands. However, everyone was afraid of Chao Qingyu's terrifying strength and kept retreating. No one dared to make a move. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.